That's right.
It is. There it is. Okay. All right, welcome to June 23rd, CCD meeting. Call to order, roll call.
That Tom Tucson,
Here.
David Hume,
Here.
Greg Felix,
Sir.
Michelle Hart,
Here.
Jeff McCall,
I'm there.
Alan, Jan Carpenter, Mark is here, and Russell Simmons.
All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of meeting agenda. Move to approve it. Second. Favor? Public comment period. No one's here. Anyone online? Okay, consent agenda. Need to approve minutes, financial statements, and check register from May. I move to
Mr.
approve.
Chairman,
Yes.
so Alex, my apologies. I didn't look up how to spell your name until after the package went out. I had the U right, but I spelled it with a W instead of a K. So the signed copy that is there has his name spelled correctly. If your motion could just approve the minutes as amended.
Oh, so approve the minutes as amended. Okay.
Correct. Rookie mistake, my apologies.
I move to approve A and B because C was not properly included.
Got it.
Yeah, the financials are in there twice, Brenda, and the check register is not.
Oh, I am sorry. Hmm.
Don't ever
Okay.
let it happen again, Brenda.
No, sir, man. I know I gotta look and see how I did that. I don't do that,
You can fix
Okay.
it next month.
Yeah, next month.
right? Thank
Jack went over
you.
statements twice, just so you know.
Yes, he made the motion
Yep.
twice, did.
Just to prove he read them.
So we're just approving A and B.
I'm already confused.
Wait a second.
Set agenda.
Do you have a second? We have a second.
I'm waiting for a second.
Second, somebody, Mark?
I said.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
You should have marked.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Third, I know you were, third party reports and presentations. Crowa, Crowa's not here.
I did, for whatever it's worth, I sat, I sat on a Crow meeting workshop last Wednesday before. I think then this was specifically around the tree and the easement conversation we've been having for a few months. It was not for approval, it was for discussion with the board because it was only a workshop, not a meeting. There seemed to be general consent among the board, and I say general consent because there weren't any questions other than I think one about whether or not they had it budgeted in their meeting, I'm sorry, in their budget to address those items if we didn't take care of them, to which their staff said they did have it in their budget. So it seemed like everybody was okay with it, but I did mention that there were gaps in the language that Jan had identified that somehow still hadn't gotten reconciled with their attorney to.
Yeah, we're working on them. Our standard language is a lot and theirs is very small. So we're trying to add in what we need without making it a huge agreement to end up slowing things down. So we should get it to them in the next day or two.
Yeah, from what I understand, I was talking to them, they
They
understood.
understand.
Yeah. I was right. I just want to point that out. I was right.
That'd be the first
We
one.
were
It
right.
would be the first time, but you were there too. Okay, thank you, Kurt.
Yep.
Osceola County Sheriff's Department. They're not here. Vendor reports and presentation.
Alex is
What
right.
you talking?
Oh, he is. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Good evening. Everybody able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. So the big difference between May and June, in my report is we have seen a significant increase in algae blooms, this month. We are responding accordingly. But we are seeing, quite a increase in not only the amount of algae blooms, but also the intensity. Treatments still appear to be successful. But the growth is rapid. So we're, doing our very best to keep on top of them. We have visits scheduled this week for Wednesday and Thursday. So we're continue, chipping away at them. I did want to update the board specifically regarding a trial that I implemented about 10 days ago, right when we did the report on 2 lakes. I went ahead and applied the phosphorus mitigation product that I had proposed to the board on 2 of the smaller lakes that we had discussed as a trial for you guys to kind of have a seeing is believing kind of thing. So we really want to take a good look at those 2 lakes. The lakes specifically are both in South Village, SB 18 and SB 25A. But my hope is that this application of this product will make a significant difference in the growth of algae and can be used as a template for what we could potentially look at on other lakes if that time does come. So I did want to, inform the board of that we did do that at our cost. And, our hope is that we should see a significant difference on those 2 lakes moving forward.
I do appreciate that, and that would help us see if this is something we can consider.
What's the time to react? I mean, how long does that take for that to settle in to see if that made a difference?
The phosphorus should be bound right now. Ideally, you see within 1 month, we should see a dramatic difference. Now, I am going to take a follow-up water test to make sure that the phosphorus and everything went as we would have anticipated with the amount we applied. So I'm going to do a follow-up water test and see where those numbers come back at. These 2 lakes were in the initial water testing, so we do have a before and after sample we'll be able to look at to see, okay, we got the phosphorus like we expected to with the product, and based on that, here's the actual visual results, which ideally should be no more algae.
And would
So within
that
a
be
month.
Would that be you do that one time and for a reasonable amount of time, that's a permanent solution, or is that a recurring treatment? How does that work?
So it is the treatment I did is what you would call a reset, which is ideally to drop the phosphorus number down to a very, very low number. Now, we're always going to have some more phosphorus introduced into the ponds over time. The question is, when does that number become problematic again? Your lakes have a significant, amount of phosphorus already. So it's very difficult to answer that question. I've had accounts that we've done phosphorus mitigation that have had good results for 10 plus years.
Yes, sir. It's true.
But sometimes, you could see, every 3 to 5 years. Ideally, though, if it's in the 3 to 5 years, and even at the 10 years, the first reset you should do is going to be the largest treatment that you should have to do, because it's just that, it's a reset. The following doses would be maintenance doses at much lower rates, and then therefore much lower cost.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No questions. Oh, please.
Alex, when does the littoral shelf work begin?
So the spray out's going to occur. We are looking at, let me pull up my calendar here. I had that marked down. We plan on spraying out the cattails on, it looks like the week of the 4th of July. So we're going to start spraying the cattails. You want to give it about 2 to 3 weeks post spraying prior to doing the actual removal. So we're looking at probably the back half of July for the removal portion of it. And then we'll schedule the planting probably early to mid-August.
And this is East Lawn? East Lawn, yes.
Do we, while I got you on the line, do we need to do anything else in Aquila Reserve? That one little shelf.
The one that Cross Creek started.
It's getting maintained.
It's getting maintained. Okay, that's, I just want to make sure we don't have anything else to do. Okay, that's all I had.
2 quick questions. One is, did we ever determine whether they're doing that pond that's in Crowa's property? Is that part of their scope?
Mark, did you guys determine the pond information that the board wanted?
To some degree, Jen and I had a call on it. We kind of went through all the information we dug up. Specific to that pond, it does appear that is a Crowa pond, although there was some odd easements with that, DOT and Reedy Creek.
Yeah, we spent about an hour going through it and gave Mark a lot of research to do.
And the last ask was really to Russ and Carrie kind of outlined the ponds. We were looking on specific ponds in the golf course, and does the CDD mow any of those?
On any side.
Any portion of, And does the CDD treat any of those ponds in the golf course? I believe the CDD does treat the Crow pond. The one
Yes,
that's 417.
Yeah, they've been treating that
And Muller.
forever. For my understanding, correct?
Yeah, there's a number of permits where the operations are still in TCC's name, and we had a lot of questions on, especially the ponds that have two different property owners on each side. You know, are we doing part, are they doing part, trying to get a handle on who's doing what to make sure we know who should have the operations responsibility, and just see where we have access to the rest of the pond.
So we don't have enough information yet to amend what Alex and Premier are doing as far as scope.
I thought there's nothing to admit,
No, the only one that comes into question is the Crow Pond.
I think. But it is our responsibility. Is that by plat?
The Crow pond appears to be Crow owned and there's no easements or permits that put the CDD responsibility on.
So there's no maintenance?
What's the location of that?
That's the 417.
Yes,
Silver.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that one, the huge one?
Yes.
We've been maintaining that as long as, forever.
Yeah.
So if that's something the board doesn't want to do because Crowa owns it, then that's gonna have to be a conversation. I don't believe it would be in your best interest
That's what I was
to
gonna
just
say.
dump that on
No.
them without them having enough time to budget and all of that, because the district's been maintaining that for,
Well, just,
like I said, as long as,
I'll just look from a cost effectiveness perspective, from a community dollar. We're gonna get a lot more bang from the buck because we're treating every other pond. If they have to go out and get a pond vendor just to do that one pond, this, in the interest of all of our dollars, it's kind of an inefficient way to do this.
I agree.
I wouldn't want to reopen that discussion either.
Can we just, well, and in the interest of staff not putting any more time into, or do we have enough to put this to bed now?
I think we should pay for it.
I think
though.
we still need to make sure on the permits that these permits were all turned over to somebody for operations and maintenance.
Yeah.
Because we're still showing TCC as a responsible party in a lot of these, which shouldn't be the case.
No. And I think at bare minimum, we should get an agreement with Crowa that you own this pond. However, we've been maintaining it all
I'm
this
sorry.
time.
I missed the TCC piece. So it's a Crow-owned pond. Where's TCC coming in?
Same the original permittee.
Yeah, when the permits are constructed, it's a construction person, and usually it transfers over for operations and maintenance to like a CDD or to an HOA. And in this case, a lot of these permits are showing TCC still as the operational entity, which is.
So that's not just the Crow pond, that's other ponds you're saying?
That's most of the ponds. There's a couple in the CDD's name, but most
Golf
are
course ponds.
TCC.
Okay, but
So we need to clean it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot more cleanup than we thought in
Yeah.
this, so,
And I've got a lot of questions still, so.
okay.
But I do think in relation to Dave's question about the Crowa pond, I mean, that's something that this district has been maintaining for a very long time.
right.
If it's something you don't want to do, you got to make sure you give them ample enough time because of
Absolutely.
a budgeting piece and all of that. I
Yeah.
don't think you can just dump it on them. And the second part of that is,
You need some
if
kind of
we
easy
do,
access.
yeah, we need an agreement to draw up that says, Crowa, you own it, but we're going to continue to maintain it if that's what the board chooses to do.
that's Part of what we're looking at for the
Yeah.
golf course too, to make sure we've got easements or access and that they know they're maintaining it on the CDD's behalf, or at least in accordance with permit conditions.
And the golf course friends, I thought I heard a couple meetings ago, we do have a responsibility there, even though we don't own them, because it's.
I don't know.
It looks like on one, the CDD has the operational permit, but on some of the others, it's not clear. Again, it looks like TCC, which shouldn't be the case. They should have turned those all over to
Even
somebody.
going from TCC, it's gonna come to the district, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Unless a couple of them may go to the golf course, but majority of them would come to us for operation and maintenance.
Yeah, they should, but it does show
I-
that one is at least in the CDD.
I'm gonna caution against taking care of somebody else's pond from a permitting perspective. That's a very bad
From
idea.
what perspective?
Permitting perspective, because we're on the, hook, or they were, actually, we're putting them.
We
on.
don't.
Crowa may
Crowa
own
is,
it,
yeah,
But
Crowa is
that
not,
doesn't mean they have the permit on it. They may own
Yeah.
it, but the permit is still with the district or TCC.
yeah, the permits on the Crowa pond, the permit still shows TCC. So we have to figure, if we have to
Yeah,
find out
that's a
if
problem.
TCD submitted it and none of these got picked
So
up
you're
somewhere.
suggesting the permits would come to us once they're cleaned up, even if they're still staying in the golf course.
Well, If it's, if we
If
could
it-
separate it, we'll
yeah.
put in Crowa's name and just
For sure.
volunteer to do it, but let them be on the hook for it.
But it seems like they never were turned over from TCC to any entity when it became operation and maintenance. They just, they kept them. They didn't turn them over. So that's what they're going through to see which
But-
ones truly should be district and whatever.
And once we clear it up, I think the other part about it is difficult to maintain something that's not your property. So if we want to maintain that pond, I would want to own it and maintain it.
No, we could do a similar agreement to what we're doing with Crow Over the Landscaping. That they give us, license and access, and then we say we're both on the hook, we both have insurance, we're both handling it in accordance with the.
And I've seen in other districts where one entity may own it, but the operating permit is under the district. So we still maintain it in some other districts where, because we have the operating permit, even though they
mean,
own it.
The paperwork lining up notwithstanding, to Dave's concern, what's the liability concern if we paper it, that we're maintaining it? I mean, what could go wrong that all of a sudden now we're including a liability or an issue if we
If the
maintain it?
permit is in their name, they can point to us saying that we're not complying with the permit, so we could have water management district penalties. But
The
that's,
permit's not the district's, then we wouldn't
Yeah, I
want to
mean, we just-
maintain it.
we paper it care, I mean, we really have to find out who it's supposed to go to.
Yeah.
If it's a separate permit than some of the others. So,
When a child were to have a problem in that pond, whose liability?
it would depend what the issue is, yeah. It could be our, it could be our issue.
So we have to maintain the grade then, which then gets into a whole nother conversation, because as we've seen, that is significantly expensive.
Yes.
So that would be the argument. It's not the 20 years that we've been doing it and the efficiency that we can achieve. It's a liability for the other things on a 25-year-old pond.
So can you go ahead and break it down to what we will maintain in terms of water quality as opposed to anything structural?
We could certainly do that.
If you could delineate it that way.
Yeah, if you could, because that is it's a concern.
No, we could certainly do that. It's just, do you want us to bring it up now or kind of figure out where the permit?
Oh, let's figure, I think first
I'm gonna
step is
prefer to
to
figure out where the permits.
Keep doing your paperwork exercise.
But that's the path.
Who
Yeah,
has the
we need to
permit.
find out where the permits fall and who's maintaining which pond. We had a couple we aren't sure who's maintaining, or if we're maintaining part and the golf course is maintaining part from a lawn maintenance. And then there's also the treatment part of it.
But once we do that, we can make a motion, if you understand, to continue to maintain, but only carve out a certain amount of
Yeah, only
maintenance.
for algae and, yes,
Yeah,
algae and water treatment, not for construction.
that would be.
Okay, one last thing for Alex, I don't know how old this note is, but I think we had a question on who would be best to test our reuse system for nutrients. Does this ring a bell for anybody?
Mhm.
We were thinking,
Our
hey,
what?
our reuse,
The irrigation?
yes.
Utility
had a-
guys, college phosphorus.
Right, because
That wouldn't be, that
Right.
wouldn't be Alex, it'd be
Yeah.
utilities.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Enterprise do it too. And I've asked them to do it. I'll remind them that we asked for that.
Okay, I just got under the wrong.
Remind me, we know it's high, but there's nothing to really do about it, I guess, is my.
well, there is something they could do about it, I'm assuming. Could they not, Dave?
Right.
So we can probably get that from Toho.
I thought this was the issue that, hey, everybody's out there
We used-
fertilizing their lawns, this is all the stuff for lawns, but there's really nothing.
Right, but there's probably,
Benchmark.
there's probably a range by which the allowable amount of nutrients in the effluent that comes out.
Okay.
And we want to test to make sure it's within that range, and if it's not, we can force Toho, our provider, to bring it within.
We already do that, don't we, through water
I don't
quality,
know.
the
if they test
benchmark water
phosphorus or
quality?
not, but we could have that.
Yeah, because we do that we do it here and we do it in
East.
enterprise. So it's being tested twice. I'll make sure and see if reuse is part of that, but I know they test everything out here.
Well, the other
And
problem,
we use benchmark
yeah,
water quality.
with down the road at West Side, I had the problem with Toho, was a provider to the CDD also. Because it was at that location at the end of the line, we were getting a whole lot more solids that were clogging the heads. So we had a huge,
Okay.
since you guys are here, I don't know if there's a big problem here, if you see any clogging of heads. Okay,
So
that's
it
good.
seemed like with the mainline break that took off, that was on, well, no, 192, we had some issues then, but that's just because there's debris that gets into the main line. Then
okay, right, not the supply that you're getting.
Benchmark water. We just need to see if they.
Any
test
other questions?
For the reuse.
Okay. Thank you, Al. I think another question, right?
United's not on the,
It's not, but should we put United in here?
Yeah.
Because they're
under
here,
vendor
or
report.
the vendor report, perfect time.
We'll make sure that they're added.
You guys will forget about it? You're sitting right in front of me.
So just a quick little preview. Last week we did have a main line on Celebration Boulevard where a palm tree was struck by lightning, consequently reaching down to that 4-inch main line and blowing out a coupling. So we were in repairs today. We should have everything back up and running tomorrow, hopefully. And currently we are lifting up around all the lakes, all the trees. So that you can kind of see the viewpoint from the cars. And the guys are focusing their efforts on spraying weeds. So right now it's just all hands on deck. But trees and palm trees are first agenda.
Was that blowout? That's right by Windsor?
Separate.
Not too far.
Right across.
Yeah, I saw you guys out. That's trying to figure out what they're doing.
Yep.
Do we know about any of the grass replacements? Over around North Village Celebration Avenue?
No.
Okay, because we brought that up at the last meeting. That has to be reviewed. And there's some warranty work and some of the palms on the side. And I'll throw this one in. Looks like the deer, they planted stuff on East Village, Indigo and Oak Shadows, where they kind of did it against that home. That stuff looks to be either pulled out or eaten.
Okay.
So that's to be looked at. But the area from 417 to the bridge, there's some grass in the middle that's died months ago, and there's some stuff on the side.
Yes,
Separate from what there's energy is touched.
The some of the addresses that you sent us over for just little hodgepodge, little pieces
Right.
here and there, we've committed to that, and we've got it all replaced. So those are all good.
And a lot of these grass, they're small, but
Little ones and
big
twos.
heads. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's like they've been eaten away.
Yeah,
So just to kind of look.
and I've got some extra sod. We can scour around and look for it.
Yeah, if you drive out there, you can see, you don't have to, it's not big sections, it's just little
Small
pieces.
little ones and
Yeah,
twos.
that's all it is.
Yeah, I think after our last meeting, Joel and I did drive out there and I'm like, I couldn't see it. And we parked over by 417, so now it makes more sense for small spots.
They're only small, they're always near either the sidewalk or the curb, they're not in the middle.
I saw one today where it looks like something maybe hit it and it took a chunk out. of
Yeah, that isn't it.
That,
It isn't it.
similar to those stuff.
Yeah, where the big tree is with the metal ring, there's a couple there.
Okay.
Russ, do you have United, what they ask us every year to do for the 4th of July event? Trim trees around the lake, where they set up?
Nothing needs to be trimmed this year.
Okay,
While we're talking about that, Russ, what about the parade route?
I didn't know there was gonna be a parade. I don't live out here, Jack. Come on.
Always been.
It's 200 feet from the school to downtown.
Yeah, it's not. No.
If you send me the location, I can have you guys.
This year, touching on 10.
It's from the 851 building down to Lakeside.
oh,
We're gonna call it the 851 site right now.
Right.
There's technically structure there.
Will be.
Good thing I got my pull saws, chains today.
Angel, the last we talked about the phase 2 cost, there was still question marks, conversations on what the final bid, because it was 20% on top of what we're paying today. Are we at a final number, or what do we need to do to get to a number?
Yeah, so I that's why I'm here today.
Okay, perfect.
So one of the things we did, the number that we put in the budget is not final, right? But I couldn't give a final number because we're estimating off of landscape plans. Nothing's in the ground. So just a real quick, and I can share these, what we do. Sorry, they're not in the agenda pack. Is that okay if I distribute?
Mhm.
Okay, I don't want to get yelled at.
We'll yell at you.
you'll get yelled
Yeah,
at.
wait till you get a minute, don't know about yelling.
Jim,
Maybe something short.
Channel
So these are-
CDD
these are
watch.
the, that's phase,
Torches.
what I'm putting that in, that's 2A, we're landscape plans for 2A.
For those.
And everything, we're all
Yeah.
plans,
Oh.
phase, there's sets. So this is all from ULS. When we got the opportunity to bid the install, we have to go through and literally count every plant just to verify irrigation zones and measure. So what we're able to then determine is, how does this turn into maintenance? So round numbers, and they're actually not that round. We have about 8 acres of turf, okay? You got about 6 miles of edging in this phase. You have 900 trees marked out, and that's all landscape beds. And you have about 3.85 acres of actual landscape beds that we've put in.
Compare that for me to.
So your
terrible
boulevard-
sizes.
Your boulevard is, what is it, like 2 miles long? Right, so you would have to walk up and down with an edger. What is that? I said 6 miles, 3 times.
Okay.
Okay, And the majority of our boulevard mowing, or the majority of the mowing is the boulevard in St. Augustine, right? So you're gonna get, you'll get the sidewalk on one side completely done and the center median edged with what's coming in here. Does that make sense if I'm trying to compare an area?
I'm just trying to compare it to say phase one. I mean, is it 3 times phase one, 2 times?
No, I don't remember phase one off the top. I mean, phase one was pretty heavy. Like, now Juniper came in at the time with a pretty low number, I thought. Now that's all been accounted and for the new proposal. So our number versus theirs, I can't really tell you what it is. But where I'm going with it is there's 130 irrigation zones that get inspected twice a month. That's your conscience. Everything was bid for your current scope, right? We didn't make any adjustments. What I wanted to get with you guys on is our number's not firm. I just had to give you a budget number based off of this. Okay. Once plants go in, because there could be change orders, they can say, hey, listen, we're not going to put in this bed, we're going to put in grass. There's less beds and more grass. It makes it a little easier for us. But you have almost 4 acres of landscape material, like trimming, bed weed control, fertilization, tree lifting, 900 trees.
What's the timeline? Maybe this is more a rough, smart question. When are we gonna see final stuff from, I guess,
I would say that phase 2A is probably gonna be the end of the year, would be my guess.
Calendar year.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking, calendar year.
Yeah, one word of caution is that these plans are useless. This is the approved plan set of the county. Every developer puts in what's called the code minimum set. Because it minimizes your fees.
That's it.
So that's not what's gonna do it.
Yeah,
do you think we're gonna see more or less?
The more, that's the minimum.
Yeah, this is the minimum they got approved.
so what we had, because that was landscape plans they gave us, right? So they said, hey, here, bid these for the install. Now,
So you're saying our cost or quote we got from him is gonna go up, not down?
Well, that's why I
We're not
left
gonna-
200,000. I left 200,000 additional
Yeah.
in the budget to account for this phase.
200,000 was, I thought, for the onesie twosie projects all through town of.
No,
No,
Okay.
I left 200,000 extra in the landscape contract line
Right.
because they did not have definitive numbers and we wanted to make sure because we can't go up. We can only bring it down. So I left 200,000, which was kind of estimating.
Well, that's the number he gave you, the 200,000. You're saying that's,
That's
sorry,
what's in
I was
there.
hearing you saying you were putting 200,000 on top of that.
No, 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 no.
Okay, that's
I
just the
can't put
number.
anything on top of nothing at this point. We can only take
I-
away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because normally, Greg, just for like. Dave's heard this probably before, but with development, new development, when it's in the ground, we just get landscape plans and typically. If we're estimating the install, it's typically 10 to 15 or 10 to 20%, depending on what it is for the maintenance side of it. So that's where the 200 originally came from, because our bid was around 2.5. I wasn't gonna put 250 in, 'cause I don't think it's $250,000 worth of work. Now, maybe with the pine straw on it, which you guys have outside of contract, yeah, it's probably gonna go up, but the thought too is. It's not gonna be done by October 1st, so your next fiscal year, you're not gonna account for 100% of those costs.
Right.
So, I don't think it's gonna be that high at the end of the day. I think we're gonna come down off of that. I just have to see it in the ground. I gotta see what they finally put in and change. I mean, we know there's gonna be 130 valves currently. They could go up. So all irrigation wise, the more they go up, obviously the more the cost
They're
is.
giving us unit pricing, so at least we can apply that to the increased scope.
Yeah, when we're ready for the addendum, absolutely. We'll provide an addendum with unit pricing, just like we
I
did.
understand what it is. It's unit pricing.
Correct.
You added 10 more trees, it's X amount per tree.
Well, I don't think they do
All
break
of
it.
the day.
I don't think they do break it down that way.
So we don't necessarily break
No.
it down to that price. We break
Nobody
it down
does.
like mowing, trimming, chem, irrigation costs and
We
stuff like
We
that.
got phase one, we just got, here's your number.
Yeah.
Nobody breaks it down. A landscaper's not gonna break it down like that. Typically they don't in this industry.
Break down it.
You can't, I mean, things change all the time, so I don't know. I've never seen them do that on any contract.
For fixed, and we don't know what it is, how do we have a rubric to know that it's not going up 2.5 times versus? I don't need to tell you, so.
I mean, the answer is we don't, and if we don't like it, then we go out to bid and get a competitive quote.
That's always an option.
Yeah, not saying it can't be done. I've just never seen it in
We'll
16
we'll be
years.
as detailed as we can. I think the watch out there is like if we put more trees in down the road, do I come back to you every time and say, hey, here's one tree up $10?
What's the give and
You
take?
know, so.
And just so you hear it from me, I mean, my concern on it has been if I take a look at what he has at 1.1 over the rest.
Yeah, I
of the
think
year.
we just kicked in our first increase. I think we're 1.09. Yeah.
Right, if you take that over the number of villages, every village is different in size and landscaping and all that, but if you take that and average that out. Compared to the price per village of what phase two is, we're somewhere around here, then we go up to here. I mean, it's pretty, and again, is that an outlier because there's more stuff and more things? If that is,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I can't. I'm trying to look at that and I've got no basis for comparison for everything
Correct.
else.
And that's kind of about where
Yeah.
I can't go out there and say right now, this is definitively what it's gonna be, because I can only look at a piece of paper. Here's the plants they're saying they're putting in, the quantity of plants they're putting in, the square footage of turf. Like, that's all I can do right now. Once I see it, I may be like, this is pretty easy mowing. It's not that difficult, right?
From a budget
And then it goes
perspective, our
down.
number is what it is. We're gonna leave it in there. They're not gonna start till the end of the year, early next year. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can bring stuff off of that 200,000. You just can't add to it. And I
We're not gonna have-
want you to be short.
We're not gonna have anything in the next month to do that. This is gonna be a middle
Yeah.
of fiscal year.
Cause right, what are they looking at from based off of your last construction meeting? They're not even starting this stuff till,
Well, I saw Tanner picking landscape plants last week.
okay.
So I think you'll see some, a little bit in this fiscal year, but I think he told us October, November.
And I don't.
Completion for
I wouldn't-
phase two A and B?
No, he won't be complete.
No, it's gonna be turnover. Yeah, that's what I figured.
So one of the things, yeah, if you go to Island Village, you kind of know, like, on the, obviously, they try to make it pretty. But on the outlying parts, they've added these trees here and there. And they're right next to the preserve area. And I just don't think we need trees next to the preserve area because the preserve area is trees. And I'm not saying it's not pretty, but it's just over time, there's no way to go ahead and
Well,
maintain.
And what I was gonna say is exactly what Tom's at. Do we have the leverage as the district to get into the process and say, hey, guys, appreciate your landscaping plan, man. I mean, that's not really what we need. Instead of this, I need this. Do we have the ability to get in and influence, even if informally, if not, if we don't have the hard power, do we at least have the ability to request?
Certainly talk to them.
Well, Russ was talking about irrigation, taking some irrigation out.
Yeah, but as far as trees, I mean, you gotta have so many for the county and all that stuff. I don't think they're gonna.
I want it to look nice. I'm not trying to go cheap.
I think
I
it's,
do know what Tom's saying.
Pick out things and say this is unnecessary. We need to be able to have some
Yeah.
it's
conversation.
a numbers thing. They have to have so many trees in per county and so much shade and so much this. So that's where they come up with the numbers and where to stick them.
Yeah, and I think in the initial phase of Island Village too, they did all that utility work and that drainage easement there. Remember, they cleared almost to, felt like they almost touched I-4. And they put in a bunch of trees and then it's standing in water half the year. And all of a sudden it grew.
Yeah.
Just looked like it was never even there. And there's trees actually in the middle of those. So as you're coming into Island Village, when you pass the Publix, the second entry off to the right along I-4, like that was actually cleared out when they were developing.
Swamp.
Put in a bunch of trees and then you couldn't mow it because it just filled up with water.
So to the point, I mean, Dave's probably the guy, since he's our managing guy. Can we get between Dave and staff and if Morgan can come there, if United needs to be there, and I'd like to have somebody take a look at this with Matt and me and say, hey, guys, this is over the top, or hey, this is right on. I don't want to dictate that. I'm not a landscape guy, but I feel like somebody needs a sanity check
Can we,
before they do it.
can we first find out from Manny, what they can and can't do? Because if they already have approval from the county, they're like, no, you. you have to-
They absolutely have approved plans from the county.
So,
So really, the question is, what are they doing in excess of the approved plan?
right, so that, if you can find that out and,
Discussion on Thursday.
right, and if they say, there is additional stuff we're doing, then maybe, I just don't wanna have,
Yeah.
one of 10 meetings that.
Chances are they're not gonna add anything that's not on the plan.
Yeah, and you kind of want to defer to them also, because they're the ones that have to sell the homes, and if
Right.
they want a tree here to help sell a house, then.
Yeah, it's not like they don't make money by spending more money, so. They have-
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll add, and I apologize for jumping in there, but we did, the initial takeoff, the initial pass was high because we took the entire landscape package that they sent over to us. That included some areas that are gonna be Crows. So you'll see like anything that's zoysia, we don't maintain. That was always Crow stuff. So we backed out that square footage. And we're able to get our number down as, as a budget number. I think originally we were 250, if I'm not mistaken.
We did.
So we got it
said
down to
250.
200.
Yeah, and then it went down to 200 and and that was probably, he even said, which I explained to y'all, that was probably still a little high, but we just didn't know and I didn't want to cut you short
Right.
going into.
You go with a higher number.
I'm not worried about budget. I'm worried about actuals whenever.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what that's like I said, we're gonna be fair and honest. When it gets put in, we'll walk with Russ, Carrie and say, okay, listen, here's what it was. We're able to then put a number to it. John will be with us, the branch manager and Joel. And how long is it gonna take us? Really, it boils down to man hours. How long is it gonna take us to get through this more than it is anything else? So we can't put man hours on something we can't see, right? So.
And umbrella tracking, whatever he's saying, isn't really ours, but it looks like ours, but really isn't ours. But that wasn't. You were just saying things that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. That's up to Pro. We don't do work, well, we maybe don't work with them soon. No, we don't know.
Okay. I'll take that as an action just to make sure that they're aware of phase two, some stuff that may have been, if I'm hearing you right, it may have been classified for us, but really isn't us and they need to get.
And it may be like, when we go through those plans and scrub through it, like, there may be, I think actually before I heard today's meeting where the trees in front of Crow's property may become Crow's to maintain, I think there's some. Well, then I would have to go back and that number's gonna come down because you'll see there's some parks in these plans that have the tree ring that's St. Augustine with trees, between sidewalk and road and the easements that we've captured because we weren't sure, is that not gonna be us? Is it us? So I think it's gonna come down still, but
Okay.
Anyways. Then one last little note I'll add in, obviously, Joel didn't touch on this, but I'm gonna bring it up. We're trying to throw out a weekly communication to the ops team here to let them know what we're like accomplishing on a weekly basis, what we're seeing and the action plans moving forward to address those. I think that's helping.
So you're copied on that? You want to stay copied on it?
Yeah, please.
For you for hurricane season, since that's.
Ready to go. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping nothing happens, but the same offer stands that we did last year. We're not looking to necessarily upcharge. We'll swap services, obviously, after the fact. If we still have some stuff to clean up, we'll figure that out like we did last year, but there'll be open communication. Branch is still right down the road, another branch on Boggy Creek, I'm trying to think of Mud Lake, I don't know why. And then we have one on Silver Star that has loaders, and then we have tree division in Reunion. Tree division in Jacksonville, tree division in South Florida that came up and helped us tremendously last year. So we'll mobilize how we need to, just like we did last year.
Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Regular reports. Field manager.
Your hurricane. Our meeting with the arborist Wednesday, I think. Yeah. To look at trees that are possibly.
Ben, you have a list.
We've only got 3 trees to look at right now.
Okay.
So I think we'll look at more of the
That's good.
conservation area and see if they identify some one where.
This is the first visit, right?
Pardon me?
First visit?
This is the first visit.
First
Yep.
visit.
Yeah, and initially they charges for 1 day, like, we don't have a day's full work, so we're getting half a day.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so I think it was like $400, I think, for the half a day from the come.
Right.
And then quickly, there were a lot of questions about the report that went on Friday. I think now would be the time to discuss some of that, if you have more questions. I sent Dave some plan, the alley lighting ones for phase 2 on the buildings. Tom has reviewed those plans. Dave asked me for them today. I don't think I did.
I found that's not the plans, those are the building plans, but there is their SDP that does the civil work, and that's supposed to have photometrics on it. I couldn't find it.
I asked for photometrics and I never got anything. from
I
them.
don't think they exist, which is strange to get approved plans without. So really what that boils down to is the question to the county, which says, hey, per this reg I referenced to you.
Yeah.
We're supposed to maintain 0.2 foot candles. How are we supposed to do that as a CDD if that's not an CDD property?
I'd so put that in English. We have a minimum requirement of alleyway lighting we're supposed to maintain.
There is a code requirement of 0.2 foot candles.
So my question, which Jen didn't like, but I put it out to staff anyway on Friday, was can we not do, if we need to, if Mattamy is not amenable to changing it voluntarily, to do just like we did with the tree barriers, to do a resolution to say, hey, there shall be pole lighting consistent with the rest of town on all alleyways. That's obviously not gonna retroactively fit phase 1. Her suggestion was, let's talk to Mattamy first and see if they play nice, which is good, but phase 2 is gonna quickly bump along here. I don't know at what point we hit a point of no return that they can't unscrew whatever they're about to.
Hold on. We have to first see if we're on the hook with the county for any of this. If we are not, then
Yeah, if we're code compliant, we don't have anything we
Then-
can ask for.
great,
Right,
and
they've
we
got
can't-
alleys without poles now.
And we can't put anything in that's a code or a permitting issue.
So they have approved plans, which by definition is code.
Yeah.
The other part that you get into is you know, we're trying to maintain a good relationship with Mattamy through this. And I think to start dictating or stuff like that, it's a bad perception.
I'm not looking to carpet bomb them every
No, I
chance. I
get
want to be able to talk with them on
Yeah.
things, but.
I think that's the first
Tree
step.
barrier thing is not, well, but the tree barrier thing was not a code compliance issue, right? We did that because we elected to do that.
We elected, it's not code, and it applies to anybody putting in new trees.
Correct.
You do something for streetlights and alleys, that's kind of targeting the last developer.
So one of the bigger problem is that throughout Celebration, you actually have driveways you can park your car on, right? There's driveways everywhere you can park your car on. If you go to Island Village, you realize that they don't have driveways. They have ramps into the garage is really what they have. You can't even park a car sideways,
Yeah.
okay? These alleys are tight. And I can see why they went ahead and said, we don't need to put anything here because these lights are gonna be enough. The responsibilities, we're not going on anyone's property to place lights.
No.
Technically, from my understanding is Croat has to enforce, it's an always on light. And Croat has to enforce that those bulbs are on. Now, we're gonna be 5, so they're gonna rely on people's requests to change the bulbs. That's gonna be on Croat, it won't be on us. I agree. I don't know why there's not conduit in every alley. I don't know why there's not alley lights in every alley, but I can see why it's just ridiculously tight. You can't.
Well, and I mean, the alleys now, where I was on Tapestry, I mean, the alley lights were sitting in someone's grass for however tight it was on the property owners and there was.
Correct.
I'm assuming there's an easement or something in there that.
A very small.
For sure. That would be my suggestion, whether we do it nicely and gently and please will you, or if they want.
But I think I think the request has already gone in for them to put regular alley lights in and they keep reverting to this. Now, on a different perspective,
That's the first I've heard that before we jump off of that.
So we-
That's the first time I've heard that.
that discussion has gone on for a while, in my understanding, and they keep reverting to this. But what
I know we've talked about it. I don't know if you've ever come back with a declarative statement saying we as a board are trying to take action about it. That's the first I've heard that.
It's not for this board to take action on. What I think you're saying is
Just a
these
discussion.
construction
Yeah.
meetings, there's been discussions about, hey,
Correct.
every other alley here has poles and lights. Why are we not doing them there?
So the flip side to this is that Croa doesn't know what Mattamy's doing, okay? And the reality is the responsibility of those lights actually now falls under Croa. And I know their attorney says, well, we don't want to have lights on the residents' buildings to do this, because then it would be. So now we've got kind of this, so it's a little messy. I mean, if it's already approved through the county that they're gonna put lights on there, this falls under Croa to go ahead and fight this battle.
And I'm not trying to jump into stuff that's Crows and not ours. I mean, that's.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
but it's,
We do own the alleys, so we could ask the county to confirm that that is the.
Yes,
original
absolutely.
Lighting.
Yeah, I think that's what we want, that's what we need to know.
Okay, so I need to get with you all to see the plan so I can make a.
Why did
Yeah.
TCC say anything about this?
They kind of backed out.
They review all the architecture.
They do, yes, through Mark Jones. They read through.
Yeah, and they
For
passed
that
it on
out there.
there.
So TCC does review and have to sign off.
And if they're supposed to, I mean, this is the nature of celebrations to have lights in alleys and.
But they look for a little more aesthetics than.
Yeah.
code.
They really sticking around
They're
for
not looking at
lights
code
that should work.
compliance, Yeah.
They're the ones who put us in this bind.
Yeah, by 11 that. So, but to your point, I sent, I will send the approved plans. So what you sent me is the building plans, but that really doesn't govern. I mean, it just shows how, what the type of lighting that they have there. But the SDP, which is approved, shows the alleyways and the cross section of it. And it doesn't show any requirement for light poles, and there's no approved photometrics plan either that shows that there is supposed to be a required illumination in the alleys.
Yeah, I think I told you today, I can see them getting the foot candles a couple of feet from that light. By the time you get to the center of the alley, I don't think you're gonna hit them.
Yeah, so the question is, and I've got the code reference
you
Okay,
want.
yeah, you can send me that
Yeah.
and, yeah, just include Carrie and.
So does that, I'm sorry, does that mean the county can, I'm just trying to figure out next steps here. I understand the county will come out and test this.
To the county to say, this is what we see as the approved plans. We're gonna own the alleys. We want to make sure that this is gonna be in compliance with the code, so we don't suddenly get alleys that aren't compliant.
But we're requesting them to come out and test phase one, just as a symptom of, or as a predicate of what we should expect in phase
No.
two.
Phase one is done.
No, we're not asking for any testing. We're asking for them to confirm in writing that they have looked at that and they're confident that that complies with their code.
So, got it. Then on phase one, understanding the lights are on private properties and it's Crow's responsibility. If the lights are functional and they don't illuminate the alleyways appropriately, do we have an issue that there is now, somebody is out of code
Yes.
compliance for illumination?
Yes, yeah, well,
So what happens in phase one? What's the,
have we accepted all of that? We're still looking at some.
Phase one.
Yeah, so we're still looking at that. If it's not code compliant, we can't accept it. Right.
okay, so do we need to test that then to say it's not code compliant, or do we know comfortably we can say that's not illuminating prop? I want to make sure Mark is armed with whatever he needs to go back
I
and
don't
say.
think we know yet. Let's,
Yeah.
yeah, let's find out without.
Phase one has all the solar lights.
Phase one.
Phase one is the solar ones.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we know there's an issue. I want to make sure we're
Yeah. We're.
positioned on the issue.
But it's different. The phase one issue is different than
Correct.
phase
one
two,
has
phase
the
two
light
plus.
poles. Phase one has the light poles.
Phase one has the solar lights.
So, yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's a different issue than.
Right.
How would you even do that? I mean, you have to have somebody come out and test to make sure it has enough lumens
Yeah.
at night.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a light meter.
Yeah.
It's in a cloudy day.
Is that something you do? Yeah, I was gonna say, you wouldn't do that.
Let the county.
When I take that out.
I don't know.
And that's why I'm asking the question.
Cloudy day, it's the angle.
I just don't want us all sitting here staring at this going, okay, well,
Yeah,
a lot of
we'll-
months have gone by, we
we'll
haven't,
do that,
we
yeah.
haven't even determined to document that there's an issue, that we can go back and say, hey, guys, someone needs to fix this.
A lot of times it's the inspector on where he puts the light meter. Oh yeah, it works right there and you go 2 feet like it does. Well, that's where I put my meter, so we're,
Not sure.
or you're not good.
I'm assuming, okay, so if we want to do this before we accept it, who's gonna pay to have it tested?
Go to the county.
Yeah, I think we start, I think,
Yeah.
let's start with the county on the phase two.
Yes, they're-
where we have
they're the
an
ones
issue,
that
and Then
pay.
say, hey, phase one is
Yeah.
coming, have you confirmed for phase one, but let's start with the phase two that's not built yet.
Is Miami aware of they indicated what they're gonna maybe do with phase one? That's, that lighting is not part of any punch lists and hasn't been.
Russ and I have pictures of them extending the pole with a different.
I thought we'd identified on punch lists a year ago, that there were lights that were just not, it wasn't a question if they were too dim, they just weren't working. I thought there were, if I remember right, Russ said there was like.
No, they were able to reprogram them and actually get them working. The issue now is that the lights don't stay on all night long. And so the advice from the company was to say lower the output, but even that isn't working. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there some sort of communique that
Yes.
that
From the
the
manufacturer?
manufacturer?
I shared that and
Yeah,
they
I saw
flat
that.
out told Madamy they're not gonna work and don't put them in that location.
That's correct.
So
So we have that.
Needs to get waved around.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that.
So can we get that, Jan?
She should have it.
To stand.
We saw, those in the big tab.
Yeah.
So let's,
Yeah.
Forward that to Jam.
Yep, I can forward the email from the electrical engineer and the company CEO that says, we told you not to put the lights there.
so we do get,
What has Madame said about it? Again, I hate to get into the Madame lawyer versus us lawyer, because they've been difficult.
Depends on who you talk to. Russ has been talking to Jeff, who's trying to be helpful, and Tanner said, don't be too helpful, was kind
Okay.
of what I got.
I think this is gonna be an issue because the reality is. We get a lot of
We should have
tickets,
something to
we get a
go
lot of
with.
tickets for these,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and some,
We haven't.
and some residents don't get upset.
We're not taking.
I would too.
But
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I saw it, when they first put it in, I'm like, boy, it's dumb.
Well, again, I'm not trying to carpet bomb Madamy, but the reality is until Jan sent like 3 nasty grams on the bridge, We got.
Well, it's, you know what, it's not being mean or anything, it's business, we
Right.
need to
Holding
go
them
in.
to task is one thing,
Yeah.
right, for what they do, but us going in hot, that's a
We need to
different.
give them ample opportunity to do
Yeah,
this.
right, correct.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Holding them accountable, you absolutely should.
Orchestrated response.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, right there, they went against the best management practice. The light manufacturer said it's not gonna work in this environment and they put them in anyway.
Speaking of the bridge lights, it's theirs.
Oh, there's, yeah, there's.
It's almost, I know, I saw it, it's almost done.
Yeah.
But they're report.
Yes. No, I saw it.
Probably 30 days out, mid-July, I think.
Oh,
it's their-
that
thought they'd be done. So.
Okay.
So,
It shouldn't be that long.
Awesome. Read to my report.
I don't know, Carrie, do you have anything
I
else?
think that's all. I
Okay.
had.
I do.
No. So now with the beard at the end of the table.
So
Kenny Loggins.
my budget, I thought I had about $60,000 left.
Yeah.
Something, and it's my fault. I did not know that the $130,000 of hurricane expenses went into the budget. So I am at a shortfall of 60-some thousand dollars. So I don't want to do any more.
I told you not to do anymore.
Okay. I'm
So
not going to.
let me rephrase that.
I'm gonna say clarify.
Yeah, let me clarify. He did not blow his budget. He is very good about keeping within his budget, always has been.
Right.
So he did not blow the budget.
All of us.
What happened was, as I talked about it with the board, what we used to do historically was you had $1 million earmarked in your reserves for hurricane, whatever that looked like, anything hurricane. Well, then when we redid the budget and wiped out all these earmarks, right? That was no longer earmarked for hurricane. The money's still there. So what we did is anything that we did, we charged to that budget line item. So that's what he's talking about. He's over budget because we've incorporated hurricane expenses in there, some of which you're getting reimbursed from FEMA, which will go into the reserve account. Now, usually about July, end of June, July, if you remember, I usually come and go, okay, guys, where do you want this? What do you want to do with this? Because I'm going to start doing some reclassing. And so if you want those to go into the reserves and take from that, that's totally fine. If you want to leave them where we're at, that's fine too. But that's the clarification on, he did not blow budget.
So you're saying there are $60,000 of expenses that were pulled out of reserve that weren't planned in the $130,000.
Actually, it's about 100 and
Yeah, it's about 100, it's almost 130,000 and I found that out when I went to the general ledger.
Yep.
And I started going through items with Russ and I'm like, you got $36,000 of equipment rental. October, November, I go, that's hurricane, right? Yeah.
So out of the 130,000 rough swag, how much of that is stuff we're expecting to get reimbursed from FEMA that just hasn't happened?
Very little.
Brenda, do you have?
18,000 maybe or
Do
something.
you have the update on FEMA, how much we're expected, what they've approved or not approved? I know we're starting to get them in now with other districts.
Right, so debris was 13,700. The fence, I'm sorry, the railing and the gate, one was 4,000 and one was, Russ, remind me, 15,000?
10 something.
Okay, that's right, it was estimated at 8 and it's 10.5 or something like that.
So out of 130,000, we're expecting to get, I think I just heard about 20 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just under 30,000
So we're about 110-ish
ish.
behind.
Which, by the way, you've always had that $1 million, earmarked
Right.
in your reserves. That's kind of what Gary always kept it at, was just at $1 million. How that came about, I don't know. But when we redid the budget, 3-4 years ago, the money's still there, but we just decided not to earmark it for anything. You all could use it
Well,
for whatever you needed.
We did, and I trust that the money was spent well. I don't have an issue with that, but we did pull out and put a separate line item for hurricane expenses that we had as a budget. When we pulled it out of the reserve, we pulled a separate line item and said hurricane, natural disaster, blah, blah, blah.
Nope,
No, there's no.
we did not do that.
Okay.
Y'all wanted to leave it in reserves and use it however, because
Okay.
Again, it's one pot of money. It depends on how you want to allocate it and whatever. But for budget purposes, so you can see actually where you were over and under on each line, that's what I'm asking. When we go back and reclass stuff, do you want that hurricane stuff all put to reserves? Or do you want to leave it in the budget line items that we've coded it to?
I would like to see a line item.
A line item
A
for
line
what?
item for hurricane.
Well, that's
Well, that's
why
gonna
we're
come-
getting hurricanes every year.
Right.
We are.
Well, that's gonna come your next budget cycle. You can add that line in there and allocate money there, totally fine.
In my mind, and again, different interpretations, a reserve is a sidewalk needs to get repaired. This to me strikes me as more of an operational thing. Okay, we need to go out and clean up things and do stuff. This isn't a capital asset improvement.
Well,
This is trees got blown down and we need to cut trees and do things.
but trees don't get
It's kind of
blown.
a restoration.
Trees don't get blown. I mean, you could you could argue it either way, right? Maintenance, it's
However
not
you want
something that happens trees aren't gonna get blown down every year if it's just maintenance.
The bigger issue is that probably next year, it'll be 100% hours.
Well, there's the separate issue of
That's
FEMA's
gonna be 100%.
costs going away. Like whether we classify it in reserves or whether we classify it in operational
Yeah,
defer, but
doesn't matter.
But
Whatever you
either
wanna do.
way, we have not been because we did have an earmark before that we no longer have on whatever side of the ledger we're gonna put it on. We need to be earmarking for that because right now we're earmarking zero.
Yes, earmarking, yes, but you still have the money in reserves. I mean, that's what your reserves is for. You pull it out of
The
reserves.
problem is if you put,
Like a year market.
but let's say
it doesn't.
let's say we put in, I don't know, 125,000, right? Well, that number already, as soon as we earmark 125,000 is wrong. Right? Because we don't know if it's under or over. It's a guesstimate.
So there's not a lot about it.
No.
If you leave it in reserves, that's my point. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you will track, by the way, when you see your balance sheet, anything that we ever take out of reserves, you'll see it on the balance sheet. Like, here's your reserve amount. We've taken boom, boom, boom. And now here's your reserve amount. I mean, you'll always see that as tracking, or we can come up with a different mechanism to track it. It's totally up to you.
You know, we can see it, that's,
Yeah.
Russ is bringing it up because we are at or over budget on a couple of line items. And I'm like, okay, we don't spend it until we have a discussion with the board.
Agreed. And I appreciate that. I'm
But I think it's just emergency stuff at this.
Yeah.
We don't,
Obviously.
and we talk about, once you enter summer, there's no point in doing any plannings, because it stresses.
Let's
And
try it.
it's just, there's no point, you gotta wait.
Yeah.
The other line item is boardwalk repairs. We are almost over budget on that.
Like we're over, but.
Yeah.
Well, you've been doing a lot recently to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
Forward, so I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, so there's a discussion, do we
over in the reserves more to clean up
continue to
those
spend for the next
hot areas.
3 months?
these are just, I got it. We don't want, I'm one for saying we don't want to put a line on here. Or we do want to put a line on here. We're now putting more things into the amorphous reserve bucket that we don't really have a feel for, because when we have our reserve conversation, our budget conversation, it's, well, we need 125,000 rough. I mean, we can take a swag as to what the average hurricane cost is and how many hurricanes on average we have. You look over historical data. We don't have a plug there. We're just saying, if it's one hurricane or if it's four, or if it's zero, it's coming out of reserve. We're not accommodating for that in our thinking.
So, well, I think
we
you are
we-
accommodating
Yeah,
for
we
it
need
in your
to-
thinking.
We know
I
we
hear
have to
what you're
take care of it.
saying, a definitive budget line item, and some districts have, some don't. It's up to you. Some will earmark, some in reserves, but what you got away from was earmarking, so you'd be able to unilaterally use that however you see fit. And when you put that money, let's say you put it in the budget, you put 100 grand, and you're like, here's our hurricane money. Let's say we have no hurricanes this year, right? We're gonna use that 100,000 for something else.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be used, because at the end of the day,
Even if it goes into the reserve pot, it's paid for
One-
2 hurricanes we have next year.
it's one bucket of money.
Right.
Unless you make that transfer early, we're going to absorb that money. It's just kind of the way it goes, right? So again, there's pros and cons to doing it either way. We'll do it however you want.
I,
You let us know.
I just don't see it changing it.
We'll put a
That's just
line,
me.
doesn't matter, whatever you want. We have the ability to do that. So whatever you all want us to do, we will do.
No, you don't need them. I don't think we need them.
This question still remains. Do you want us to leave it as is or allocate the stuff that we have in here now to reserves, or just leave it as is?
No, I would allocate it to the reserves.
Reserves.
to Keep the honesty or integrity to the actual budget line item, because then it looks like you faded.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the honest,
what I want.
honest transparent.
Clarify, good old Russ. He didn't miss his budget.
Hurricane expense.
Well,
And it's
it's
not,
not accurate. I mean, it's just not accurate, so.
well, it's not Kenny Rogers, it's Kenny Rogers chicken over there.
Now, on the sidewalk or on the boardwalk, sorry,
That-
if there's nothing imminent, that's like a perilous danger, then I wouldn't go over budget till we get into ratifying the budget and going forward. Is there anything out there that really, is it super danger that, no?
And that's typically what we do when they reach budget on either sidewalk, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Do it
We
every
hold
year.
off unless it's health, safety.
Yeah, that's
Stuff like that.
What we started doing was on that report, anything that was critical,
Mhm.
we started repairing those. And
That's, it's good.
oh, this is.
All right.
Oh,
fast.
Russ did give me about a month ago, he says we're almost at the end. I'm like, just like last year. Yeah.
And is there
Well,
any, is there any undone severe or critical items that you're worried about?
On what?
It depends on what you.
Yeah.
As critical, some of the top railings.
Yeah.
If he thought you're gonna get a splinter, he has it as critical.
Yeah. So you're telling me there isn't anything critical or serious?
No one's gonna fall off the boardwalk between now and October.
Okay.
Unless you go on it on a
Okay.
particular day and you let me know ahead of time.
I heard what I needed to hear.
It's all.
Once the hurricane wipes it out, then the problem solved.
There you go.
Last question I had for Field was, power company was out here several times in the boulevard in the past week, tearing up.
So
So
there are other places too.
I just noticed them there, but yeah,
The Catholic Church, they tore up a lot of stuff.
I assume they're fixing things.
They will fix things.
They're pretty good about it, actually.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
They're just.
Well, you know, they're not speedy.
Well, it's not just the sod, it's the parking incredibly large vehicles on the sidewalk as well.
Jasmine gets her gold star.
With no guards or anything.
Yeah.
So dealing with Carolyn, with Duke Energy, yeah, I mean, even West Park, they did that. Spent a tune and busted some sidewalk. She said, we'll take care of it, but we're not done yet. About 4 days later, some line trucks on the sidewalk again.
Okay.
Going on, so.
As long as you guys are keeping, it's just, it's weekends, it's happening. It was this Saturday, they had, just on the boulevard intersection, it was like 8 of them.
I'd have been there all week.
Like,
And that was when I noticed it. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Before Carrie has his, I just wanted to talk about really one thing, because the arbitrage was a little bit further down, but I am very, very sad to, tell this board and really anybody that Brenda's last day with us is Friday. This Friday. Her and I had a conversation last week. She got offered a very amazing opportunity in Texas where she lives to be a part of something, a growth and startup and all these things. And I tried everything.
Oh.
Money.
Carlos fell. with
She
the first
did,
8 months,
she
so-
did.
I was gonna. You know, she might come back.
Yeah, I'm trying to. She's eligible for the Detroit you're looking for.
Yeah, I tried everything, but at the end of the day, it's whatever's best for her and I wish her the best of luck. It's 30 years. Not only in celebration, but also in 90% of the districts that we have, Infomark have started with her and Gary, them two alone. So, it's just a tremendous, just the dedication and everything. And it's amazing. First of all, for someone to last that long, her and Russ, they're like the lone Mohicans out there. But just what they've offered and what they brought to the table is amazing, not only for celebration, but a lot of districts all over the state of Florida, not just in the central region. I mean, it's,
Brenda knows everything.
yeah, it's literally.
What are we gonna do without you?
So, yeah, see, her last day is this Friday. I'm super sad about it for selfish reasons.
Does she know? Oh, sorry.
Does now.
She is eligible for rehire. If that ever
Oh,
comes
good, good.
around. But I just wanted to let everyone know, I didn't want to announce it after she was gone or anything. I've been holding off because I've been trying to work every angle I can and it's not working. So, anyways, the appreciation is there. I wanted to let all of you know.
No, she's
Wow.
been a big part.
Oh, huge.
So we are gonna miss her.
Yep.
Wow.
So.
Right, I told Angel today, cause I had called her this morning looking for an answer and I'm like, look at how many times in our board meeting, everybody goes, Brenda?
Yeah.
I thought Brenda lived in the cloud. I didn't know. It's just always doing.
I've got time Friday for a virtual farewell party, so.
Yes. We are,
I'll make time for that.
yeah, we're doing something for her. you know, obviously it's a lot of years of dedication and appreciation. So just wanted to make sure. Hmm? Like a roast? Yeah. Roast. Oh, yeah. Tom wants to do a roast.
We do a roast.
So anyways, just wanted to let all of you know and, let her know.
Brenda, I want to tell you, thank you. I mean, my time as chair and just being on here on the board, I mean, it's, you know, you are the break glass when fire person of this organization and trying to figure out what the hell we've done over the past 30 years. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got every piece of that stored away somewhere. So just seriously, I appreciate everything you've done. I can't imagine how, I don't know what we're gonna do next week without her, but I can't imagine having been here without her to begin with. So thank you for all the time you put in.
But also congratulations, because
Yes,
it
for
must be something spectacular.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Thank you.
well done.
Yep, for as young as we are to have been here that long, and I will tell you, this was not an easy decision because I love this industry. I love what I do. I have loved starting new, you know, all these new districts and being here for so long. It's, for me, it's just second nature. So, and all that Angel had said, you know, if Carrie had thrown in a pizza, I might have had a hard time saying no. But, it's just.
Why did you get the pizza?
Right? This is a good opportunity, a great opportunity for me, at my age. And so this was hard, because of all of you times 100, however many that I've worked with over the years, and just the colleagues and the friends that I have met along the way has really been an amazing opportunity. So thank you for letting me serve you all these years.
But you'll still be here for our meetings, right?
That's right.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. What was that?
I can't hear you. Yeah.
Was that?
As a more matter of fact, I am working out some consulting stuff that and Brenda knows kind of how that works. We did it with Gary Moyer for years, and that's something I am gonna have a conversation with Brenda about on a consulting basis.
Everybody needs a side hustle.
Yes, absolutely.
But she knows where the bodies are buried.
She does know where the bodies are buried.
We're
That
gonna
is,
need to know that.
that is true. So anyways, thank you so much.
I'll tell you later.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Is that anything?
Now the
Way to bury the lead on that one too.
Yeah.
I'm
we
sorry.
have
Going to legal
nothing
counsel.
to say. Yeah, I have nothing to say without.
Meeting
Brenda.
over.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do I call for like?
What happened
Yeah,
20 years ago?
Yeah, what happened, or like, we did things like this, why can't we do them?
Now we have to just research the mess out of it.
I know, like agreements, she just finds them.
Yeah,
She just, she's
yeah.
this.
And she knows the history behind them all. She's like, yeah, we did this and there was no agreement. It was a handshake and we did that. And
Yeah.
There were a lot of handshakes.
so,
Finding that from
You
a
can
lot
send
of
me a
handshakes.
text,
yeah. And
and I'm
again,
trying to get
Well, don't
everything as
worry.
organized as I
she
can.
has a full-time gig coming on, but she is gracious and will obviously offer any information that, you know, we
Yeah,
need.
and Brenda, you can join as the public on Tuesday nights.
Yes.
You can join in the heckling.
So I can comment as the public now.
Yes.
Exactly.
Um,
Okay, I'm supposed to say what I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you've covered a good portion of what I had to talk about. Council for a Sheriff has a scooter thing written up, but it's being reviewed, so we're getting closer.
Okay, well, that's good.
Are we closer generally with, and I realize obviously the sheriff's probably got some stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
Are we any closer on them with in Kissimmee and everybody else on the whole details and possible full time? Where are we at?
there's no, Osceola County is the only one that would potentially, because they've done it in the past, offer a full-time person.
No, we're talking about the scooter
Oh,
issue.
No, you were talking about
No, I was
details.
talking about.
You're just talking generally on the sheriff's department.
No.
The scooter thing, I get it, but we're still.
Thing and
Yeah.
the county.
Oh, okay, that's.
Still looking at their study. Nobody seems to know what's going on there. So they're looking into it again.
and with the blow up
Yeah,
recently,
No, yeah.
I don't think I'm at the top of their list to give me cost for
Yeah.
on-site people.
It's hard to push the sheriff's department right now.
There was another arrest.
Really?
Wife.
Has one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I would suggest,
Fortunate.
I've heard through the grapevine, the new guy is very active to get out and meet and see and all that. let's invite him to the next meeting so he can come here in person and
A lot of,
we can throw our top three at him and I'm sure he'll have a whole new tickle at life.
that's a good idea. I've heard a lot of good things about. Very proactive. Other stuff, just the stormwater ponds we talked about and the miscellaneous things. Pretty well covered so far.
Final report on incorporation.
He is doubling down, saying he's provided his final. You were on the email too, where he said,
Okay.
yeah, he's provided, he goes, there was really no point in me providing anything additional because the, what did he say? The statute changed or there wasn't?
Yeah, I think he was saying like, well, what's the point of spending the time putting in the comments and all when it's.
How much have we paid him out of the $40,000
Uh,
contract?
Just what he's billed us for. I can look that up right now and I'll keep talking.
Yeah, well,
Not waiting.
yeah, why don't you tell me
Anymore.
what he's, yeah.
It was only billing as he did work. It wasn't a flat fee and said, here you go. And this is what it was, as he did stuff, he billed us.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was a,
I
okay.
think it was a maximum.
it was a
It was a
maximum.
40 grand contract.
It was a contract, but he billed up to it. He kind of stopped.
That's right. It wasn't, here's 40 grand now, it was, he billed us as he went. So I can tell you what we've already paid him.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, you can't beat a guy into finishing a report, but the fact we don't have a final work product after many months and all that of talking about that, I would like to have a final work product that we can say, here was the result of us doing all this shit. And we got nothing from this guy? That's
Well,
ridiculous.
we got something.
Yeah, we got something and we had comments to it, but if it's not relevant. I guess his point was why spend money.
As long as we weren't billed for the whole thing.
Yeah, this is his last communication. Cause I said essentially. The report didn't have all the changes that the attorneys wanted in it. I do not have any unpaid invoices from you. Please submit it to me again. And submit the final thing. His response back was, I believe it does. If you remember, you sent me an email stating you were not going to pay for my last invoice because your attorney said it did not meet the state requirements. I disagree, as the identical report has been accepted by the state for other communities. And that's where he stands.
So how much is paying?
Yeah,
What's the
that's
balance?
That's what I'm
now?
looking at.
That's all we really care about, really.
Yeah.
That much.
What's the name of his, BJM Consulting? Get that messed up, that could be bad.
Yes. Yeah.
No comment.
No, I was just.
Yeah,
Just saying, I've done it.
Have the record show that Greg left. Nobody else did.
It was more of a giggle.
It was a joke.
So we can restore that money to the Russ, right?
Yes.
Let's go to Russ.
Yeah,
Well, it's probably been
All
absorbed.
$14 that we didn't pay him.
$14.99. And we used a coupon, so save a little more.
He was not happy that we said that made the statutory requirement.
Was not.
Well, we were there because we asked him for such a long time, and then initially when he did the report was assuming a lot of stuff, which wasn't verified, so it was like.
Oh, he assumed that we took over Crow stuff. It was, I mean, he was off the chart.
At that point, when he said that, I'm like, okay, this thing is not.
Angel, it looks like 15,000 in
Yes.
22.
Was paid or is left?
Paid.
The actuals in 22 were 15,375 that were paid.
Yep. And we've paid nothing in 2025. So that's what we ended up paying him.
So the final product is a report with comments.
Yes.
Draft report. Okay. Do we need to do anything to close out his contract and say thank you for your services or? what?
Yes, it was just.
That was it. I think that email is pretty
Yeah, I
much.
think that email was-
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't want to rewrite it.
In fact, what I would recommend is do not email.
Very well.
Yeah, that pretty much.
Stop asking about that.
I mean,
I'll put the access.
There you go.
okay, anything else, Ken?
No, nothing else.
Mark?
You got my monthly report. You got another question? I might have had a couple of questions, or you save it for comments. Chairman.
I thought you'd hit your level. I mean, he's had already.
Wait, because
I know what he drives. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, sorry.
So you got my monthly report, just kind of outlining just some of the big things we were working on the past month, a lot of unfinished stuff. Just rewalking the punch list out there. Looks like they're pretty much down to electrical service down by what's called the yoga park and the street sign. One of the decorative poles. So I believe the yoga thing's gonna be done here pretty shortly. The street sign does have a long lead. Discussed with Tanner, with Matt, I mean, you know, hey, if you guys can produce a purchase receipt for it. You know, it ultimately be up to the board, but you know, we might be able to get it on the agenda for acceptance, you know, now these alley poles may throw a wrench in that, but excluding that.
Right.
Another thing I did that I don't think is on the list, because it may have been after the date of the list, but I went and drove and looked at all the alleys in Main Village and all the alleys in North Village. Night and day difference. Main Village is definitely showing a lot more signs of fatigue than North Village. That is Central Village need to be repaired now. There's one spot that I showed Russ, it's on Sycamore, where an alley turns out there's a pothole that could probably be filled in pretty quickly. The rest of the wear and tear is really just, for lack of a better term, alligator cracking. You just start seeing the cracks down the alley. It's not falling apart, it's not lifting up, it's not unraveling, it's just aging. It's 17 years now, 18 years at this point.
So, the question I think would come up from a resident impact is once we finish North Village sidewalks, we're gonna be doing Central Village sidewalks, Main Village sidewalks. So do we do the hours before, after? I'm just trying to figure out impact to residents.
I mean, my question would be, maybe even rolling back on it would be, given how many things we have that are life safety issues of legal liability, blah, blah, blah. How long are we punting on alleyways until they become themselves a
Life safety.
life safety issue? Yeah, I mean, if we're not addressing anything that's aesthetics and we're only dragging life safety for a while, how long is this gonna last?
And that was really not gonna fail to the point where it's all. You should really get potholes.
Right.
Life safety thing, I guess maybe someone. There's small bicycle, but
Yeah.
potholes can form on a newly paved alley as well, so,
Right.
just a matter of keeping track of them until they occur. Based on the condition of the alley, you could probably go a couple more years without really doing anything with them. At that point, you know, maybe the cracks start getting too obnoxious. Start filling in with grass, you know, gotta treat them, and then it's for the aesthetics at that point.
But I mean, to your point, Tom, I don't think there's any efficiencies to be had if we're doing the sidewalks.
No. This is purely impact to residents.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't wanna do them at the same time.
Yeah.
We're under no obligation to do anything with the alleys, you know, right now.
No.
Yeah, well, somebody that just came back from a tour of New England, I think our alleys look fantastic. In comparison.
Well, theirs were the original. Original.
Contraction. You know, I don't know if any of you guys live in downtown Village, but you know, next time you're going through, take a cut through or something. You'll see the cracks. They're not huge. They're just, you know, longitudinal cracks kind of down the center line. Occasionally we'll have one kind of cutting across. That could be a result of the base material that's under there. If it's a soil cement material, it does tend to reflect cracks to the surface more quickly and more readily. Doesn't mean that the pavement's gonna fail on you.
Do we wanna look into the way the county did the roadways just a couple months ago? Nope. Just asking.
It's still soft. It's just dry steering marks everywhere. That's gonna wear on for years.
Looks worse now than we finished it.
You're saying it's just an aesthetic thing, or is it?
Micro surface, all it is literally should glue down. It's insane. We're going with it. Micro surface.
It's still
It takes 4 or 5 months for it to finally harden up. Meanwhile, you're gonna get tire tracks everywhere.
And it looks nicer in the fact that it's all, you know, darker black color versus the grayed out asphalt that's there. But,
It actually is sort of surprisingly that after they did that, there's more issues with puddles in next to the edge of the road that there weren't there before.
Mark did an awesome job when we did Arson Park with the alleyways of going through and whether, what you call them, bird baths or whatever. I mean, there were a lot of those and they were just natural that we came through and Jeff came through and repaved and redid and all that stuff, but
And that's key, because you need, the whole point is to have the water moving
Yeah.
and staying away from,
Yep.
and just building up from mosquitoes, so.
Well, if there's nothing to do, can we at least clean up the, because I think on our website, we have a.
Yes, we do. There is a schedule, so
That needs to be updated.
Schedule for what?
there is
Street sweeping.
No, Alex.
you're saying just delete it?
No, just push it back to your each thing.
Just updated.
just
It
updated.
should be. Yeah, let's just update it.
Because, yeah, it kind of says we're gonna be doing that now and we're not.
Well, there is a range. It's not a year.
Yeah,
There's
I think
like,
the range is like next
Yeah,
year.
like move the.
It starts next year.
Another year.
yeah, we'll move it
Push
back.
it at least a year, right?
Push it, yeah.
Yes, you see how.
If it changes every year, because some years we don't do one, I mean, do we really want to have a schedule up that's really gonna box you in?
Yeah, I don't know why it's there in the first place. It's a great one.
That's why I said just delete it.
It was there.
I made a motion to delete it.
I say second, third. Yes, there you go.
There you go.
That happened quick.
Yes, you know what? He's just answering if we didn't ask all those questions, so now it's just.
So many.
He's just.
The alleyway schedule.
Personal questions.
Shall made that. Who seconded?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, now.
Dave, second, third, great.
Fourth and fifth.
No, I think internally maintaining that, absolutely. Hey, what's next? Yeah, just.
The only thing on that alleyway page is that table. You want to leave the whole entry for alleys?
I would, just so it doesn't box you
Yeah, I would
in.
just take it out of
And
the.
then it's whole,
Yeah.
it's whole.
Yeah.
Brenda, can you send an email to Jeff quick and have him take that out, please?
Is that just the PDF schedule that lists which village and what
Yes,
years that it might be replaced? Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
I can do that.
And the links under field services.
Yeah, she's like, Angel.
And make sure you do it before you leave. Oh, sorry.
You have 4 days.
Yeah. I'll send you some emails. Sorry.
I know.
I'll call.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll-
Anything else, Mark?
And on the other item, Russ has conveniently stepped out, I took another look at the drop offs next to the sidewalk. There, the head walls there, near between A51 and K80.
That was a good field trip.
Brian, Tom, met me out there. We looked at it. Yeah, you could add some soil and some sod up against the sidewalk to eliminate the immediate drop off, but the safety issue there is that you've got a 1-to-1 slope so close to the sidewalk. And you're limited on how far you can go with that slope because you're bound by wetland tracks at the toe of that slope. So you really can't flatten out that slope and go another 20 feet out of the wetlands. So I've kind of remeasured, I actually had a 300-foot tape. Actually, I went up after we met and we're kind of remeasuring. There's paint out there now, so we may have seen it. Showing where the distance where the fence would start and stop. Got a total of 574 feet. The proposal that Anchor had was 536 feet. The rest of that number kind of came from Anchor kind of meeting out there and probably kind of just going recollecting what talked with us prior to that. So I think the total square footage or total linear footage looks good. One question that came up is, how do you step the fence? You stand back, you look, you got the existing fence on the head wall, there's concrete head wall there, there's big culverts. So the bottom of the fence and where the fence mounts is about 12 inches off the dirt. You come off to the sides of it, they want to match that top. Fence will have to be higher and another railing introduced, or you just leave a gap underneath, or you step down the railing on either side. Because of that elevation change, and then it just goes.
Is that a significant cost difference?
Not to lower it, step it down would it be, but if you were to add another railing to it, to fill in the gap at the bottom, I would imagine that would cost.
We talked about it, we thought stair stepping would probably be the best aesthetic and cost wise.
We're dropping 200 grand on this thing, and really we need to.
I don't see how we can't do it.
I agree with you. I just don't know that it needs to now be.
Yeah, when you
level.
go out there too, yeah, I was surprised more on the school side. It is a sharp drop. There are a lot of trunks and there's like standing water. So if
You're
you
talking
had-
about Celebration Avenue right between 851?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if somebody went off, let's say somebody went over,
It's a drop.
and they hit their head the right way and are into the water,
Yeah.
that would be bad.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, we talked about is, originally there's only like 1,200 kids going to the school. And now these sidewalks have become their own miniature highways, right? And when you're riding and somebody's walking, you always seem to, it doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, you always seem to like get a little nervous. That all that is.
Well, that's where everything narrows too.
Correct, correct. I mean, that bridge should have been bigger. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but to make that bridge bigger.
We're gonna do it.
No, I know that, but I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I went out for the field trip. I wanted to. Jeez, okay, I'll stop. I'll stop.
Appreciate the field trip. Yeah.
You're sorry, I tuned him out. Was he saying something?
Your lawyer was getting the hook going.
I think he's also.
Trying to get you out of
it. See, I'm usually like just
Mean.
Now you know how.
You were right. All right, anything else?
So really the next step, I think, is deciding, do we want to try to match, talking about the fences on the drop offs, do we want to match the top?
I want the
Or not.
cheapest, I want the cheapest option.
And then, then we might just need to get Anchor to go out there with this new total length of 574 feet. See if they can update the price.
Are you matching the existing? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, it's 42-inch 8-rail handrail.
Does this include repainting the existing? Cause you know for sure we're gonna come out with something brand new. It's gonna be a different color.
We already talked about that. It has to.
It has to include repainting the existing stuff.
Yeah, it has to, because otherwise,
Yeah.
already there, you have the repaired rail,
It looks different.
existing rail, and the other, it's all gotta be the same.
Yes, my OCD twitches when it goes.
Oh, it ends up looking really bad. Anything else?
Would Anchor paint it,
Oh.
or do you do it internally?
We would do that in house, no? Oh, we wouldn't.
It's too long.
Oh, it's powder coated.
Yeah.
Well, says he's 60,000 over budget. He's not gonna.
Exactly.
Kenny said.
Well, if it's powder coated, we wouldn't do that anyway.
Some top crap.
You want me to reach out the number on the Anchor, and you got a contact?
Get 2 bids, we'll get it from them and then I'm good Sunbelt Metals again.
Yeah,
We know.
I'll meet you guys out there, I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
But I sent you this exhibit, and then there's paint on the ground with the limits.
I shared that with the board. They have it, the drawing they gave me.
Awesome.
So anything else, Mark? Any other questions, Mark?
I have an engineering question, and I realize this is a county thing, and I'm just trying to figure out if the board wants to jump into this or if I just send it on my own. The drainage on Celebration Boulevard, when even we get a moderate rain, it's a friggin' lake out there in the middle of the road. And
Always has.
I suspect, not being an engineer, because they don't have enough drains along the side of the road, but I don't know. Does the board want to ask the county, or do you want me just to go as Joe citizen and ask the county here of, hey, guys, we've got standing water on just regular rains?
It's been reported to the county, just so you know.
Okay. And what's the response been? No, thank you.
We'll get,
Yes.
Heavy rain.
yeah, it's a heavy rain, we'll check it,
Does it
you know.
drain into our ponds?
Oh, yeah.
Is the boulevard or the?
Boulevard. If you go all the way from starting around McDonald's, all the way up to Waterside, and I got it, when it's a monsoon rain, it is, but especially on the northbound side of the road, that whole right lane, I mean, you'll get 6 inches of water.
So I don't know when they finished the boulevard, but I remember like in 2004, the aim is to always start on the right side. And then you move to the left side, and then you right, because you actually need to do this, because
Yeah.
otherwise, the water you hit is, wow. God help you if you're on the sidewalk, because you will get,
So
it's a wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
if it's been a reasonable amount of, again, if the board wants to get into this, can we ask? the
Yeah, I
question
don't have
again
the
where you at?
exact date when it was reported, but it's been reported a few times and essentially, yeah, and that's essentially what we get back without getting that back is, okay. Like,
Did something.
yeah, we're aware.
So maybe a great citizen.
I'm happy to do that as Joe citizen.
I know we were doing it about 10 years ago.
That's
Yeah.
one, if
Yeah, that's
I, 192 there at the bridge, as you're heading towards Kissimmee right there, it always floods there, that outside lane, and sometimes even the middle lane is underwater.
What's a reasonable amount of time? We have an issue on Lake Evelyn that reported last month. They have it on their schedule for September 9th to come out, look at the drain.
Wow.
Of this year?
Mhm.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, that's actually not bad.
I was gonna say, that's
That's progress.
So, I mean, I can absolutely, reiterate it to them again. I just don't know how much traction.
Email
he's
is
gonna
Joe
get.
Citizen.
Yeah, and that's,
Well, you can attend the town council meeting that Commissioner Chowdy's gonna have.
Funny you mentioned that, because that was the second comment I was gonna have. If staff can email the county and ask them to stop putting signs on our stuff without us asking permission. The election stuff, I understand from our attorney,
Yeah.
legally you have to allow that. So putting signs on our easements free, and it's been everything from sheriff's department stuff, to the one that's sitting up there now. We just dropped 17 grand on doing one of these medians to do new grass.
what's out there now.
One of these gigantic.
Yeah.
So that is one question. They put the big giant signs out. How do we get recouped when there's no image to the grass?
Is it
Yeah, do we have a?
the median down Celebration Boulevard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever
They
she,
should have it air.
whenever she has a meeting, it's 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after.
And I'm not trying to.
Safety or traffic.
It's anybody.
When they do pups and pints, because it's in conjunction with Experience Kissimmee, they put it out on the entrance coming in on Celebration Avenue, right at the 417 bridge. They do the same, hey, I got it, when it's
Yeah.
election stuff, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I get it, the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean.
We're spending a lot of money to try to fix stuff, and they're just dumping
It's a
crap.
little tricky, but they. there
This
should
one
be
was
no
for a
easement
pro.
on
Yeah, they-
Celebration Boulevard.
And the easements are generally for.
This is Celebration
signage,
Avenue.
Yeah.
street Signage and road signage, not for
There's one
advertising.
Boulevard too.
Yeah,
The one right now is on the boulevard.
There's one on the avenue.
One on the avenue too.
missed that one.
go.
Right, it
The,
is.
the problem is that I don't know if anybody reads them. I mean, cause it says like half the, and then a half the, I'm like,
Yeah.
And then once they
If
put it
everybody
in,
reads them, I
everybody
still
sees
don't
them.
care. We're spending money trying to fix these things, and they're dumping these things out here for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, we kill our grass.
Yeah.
Use the internet.
well, that's how everybody uses it. Nobody,
Yeah.
this is old school.
So what do you mean, county who put that out?
Yes.
It's the
Who
county.
put it out? It's a Calgary put it out.
Chowdy.
Well, not personally, but I'm sure it's road and bridge department.
Right.
Yeah.
I can understand them when they're doing construction.
Yes.
Oh,
And
for
they're
sure.
gonna, I mean,
Life
it's-
safety,
yeah.
things like that.
Absolutely. Hey,
100%.
this is, I get that, they're gonna.
Is this a town meeting that they're advertising? Is that what that
She
is?
hasn't got a
I was sitting-
meeting.
I'll send you the pictures that I took on the way by, because
Well,
Tom's
no,
point, I sat there and watched for
It's out there
things to
for you
fix.
to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I must have missed it.
There
when I
is
came
damage
in at
to the
noon.
grass. We can't cut the grass, the weeds form, it sometimes gets torn up.
And it just looks bad.
It does.
Is it one of those rolly signs?
Yeah.
It's the one that's this wide, that's like 9 feet tall,
Oh, wow.
that you see like on the highway, you know.
It's no message.
How did I miss
They
it?
probably assume it's theirs. I mean, I bet they assume it's their problem, so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, missed that.
I mean, and I would, my request would be, if it's appropriate, even for the life safety ones or even the voting ones, they should at least be coming to us and having the courtesy to know, hey, we put a sign up there, and hey, we're gonna repair it after it's done.
I bet they do think that's their property.
They
Why
absolutely,
else
they
would
absolutely,
we-
everywhere else is probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah.
just towed it around to wherever the guys doing it have no idea that this
Yeah.
is in county.
Yeah.
Carrie has it on his list to reach out and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get another big sign and put in front of Peggy's sign and says, Tom doesn't approve this, he hates this, just to,
Put
And then
Jack's
you could-
statue in front of that.
right in the middle,
There you go.
right in the middle, right next to Peggy's sign.
Huh.
I'll send you pictures.
It's, I agree.
One more quick thing.
Yes.
I looked at, Dave sent out the 60% plans from the county for the right turn lane at World Drive. Looks like they're going to restripe to add a second left. So if you're leaving the high school, wanting to get onto World Drive, you'll have 2 lefts there.
The one where it's curved out and it's blocked off, it's the,
It's a chevron.
Yeah.
Cross striking.
they're gonna make that act.
So the Jan, kind of chimed in about, the takings and the domain and all that. So I kind of just took a peek. It doesn't look like, Celebration Point people have ever replatted that section of Celebration Boulevard to include that new roundabout.
Correct.
That's
That's
still,
still ours, isn't it? The
Yeah.
Roundabout?
Well, the roundabout doesn't exist on plats.
It's not there.
It's the old center medians that are there.
yes.
Oh, the median.
So
before
when you
they-
mentioned about trying to figure out property and that, you're gonna be looking at what's currently on the books and it's not gonna match what's there.
Oh, wow, that'll be interesting.
so
when the
I
county
didn't
tries to
even-
take property and
Yeah.
doesn't know that it's not there.
So I emailed, Jordan Draper with Kimley Moore, and he was the engineer, and he said, hey, where you guys at with the planning of this? I've never seen anything, he hasn't replied yet, I'm not sure who else, who are you dealing with out there? It's been a while, I know, but,
I don't remember the gentleman's
yeah,
name.
there's another guy, the last name is
Hawkins
Z,
Construction.
might email him, see
Get
Over on
some-
the Celebration Point side?
Yeah, so they redid that roundabout. They reshaped it.
That's all, they maintain it too.
They didn't.
Do they maintain that?
Mhm.
Celebration
Yes, they do.
Point does? Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
The boundary that was
1000%.
hit.
We got the high school one.
Yeah,
at
you
the
can
end.
tell
There you go.
wherever they have the,
Kidding.
yeah, they have their own teams out there. When the palm tree fell, they fixed it. You know, I mean, all the whole area, and you could tell it's their grass because it's not St. Augustine. That's all theirs.
That one curbing up there, right on some chickens walking.
It's already destroyed.
It's been over again.
That's gotta be set, I guess that's a county inlet, it's back or curb.
That's the
That's
worst.
the worst design I've ever seen.
It's gotta move
down
farther.
there.
They got to put a throat there with some concrete.
So-
to set that.
Crazy.
Should that be getting platted to be over to belong to Celebration?
Platted to
To where we're
to
going.
whoever it's going to go to, but yeah, it needs to be
Yeah.
platted.
Is there a
sure.
county you can contact to kind of get them to push?
That may be why Celebration Point is still maintaining it, because they know it hasn't been platted, so they're maintaining it until it does get platted, which is typically what they'll do.
I think they're maintaining it because they think it's theirs. Because they're the ones who actually paid for that whole area.
Yeah, but you don't wanna just keep
Yeah,
maintaining
them.
it.
Well, they want it to look nice.
Yeah.
That's.
It doesn't, and by the way. It's all weeds,
All right.
just saying.
Yeah,
But I could try someone in the county and say, hey, you got an STP that reshaped the center medians out at a roundabout and it was never a plat that followed it. Not sure what they can do.
Yeah, it's worth asking.
Just don't put it in CDD then, that's what I'm.
Well, it has to get replanted as long as we don't pay for it because it's.
Yeah, they would have to.
And they're gonna have to, if they're gonna change the access, aren't they gonna need to know who owns
That
it?
was right, yeah.
So outside of the platting concern, was there anything else on the plans that we can relay back to the county?
on the roundabout,
Oh,
oh, the turn lanes,
Just,
I don't think so.
just that we need them to ask for our property. We don't wanna.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't wanna volunteer. I mean, we
Yeah,
need them
it's-
to ask and then come up with a deal.
Yeah, we did say we were open to it. We just
Yeah,
need them
we
to
just need-
officially.
Show us what it is they want, why, and.
Yeah.
Are we intending, and are we required to sell it to them, or do we have the option to give it to them if
It's
it's for
an
a
eminent
community
domain
purpose?
proceeding, so it has value. Many CDDs are taking value for like the whole FDOT
Yeah.
changes. So I mean, we could certainly donate it to them if it's for the good of the community.
I mean, we
We could
requested
also-
it, so I would like to be a good partner saying, hey, we requested it, therefore we're gonna.
Well, I would love to do it, only to expedite things.
And
Absolutely. I mean, what are we gonna get, $20,000?
it's, yeah, expediting doesn't matter because they can take it quicker. So, I mean, the whole eminent domain statute changed years ago, so they can take it and that's.
So our, yeah, response to them is whatever's fastest.
Yes.
Well,
You know what,
whatever's the
listen,
fastest, but we
If
also
built
may
by
need
this date,
something,
it's
so let's
not-
not just
Yeah.
give it up without making
May
sure.
want something.
We
in
see if
return.
there's something we want in return, if not money.
we want those signs off the boulevard.
I was gonna say, we got plenty
We
of
want those
things.
damn signs off the boulevard.
Dave has a laundry list of
Yeah.
things for negotiation.
We have, speaking of eminent domain, now that the state has announced they're doing another round of highway stuff coming up sometime soon.
They are doing another one. No, as a matter of fact, I asked this week again where they were supposed to get us about a month ago, a map of all the parcels along I-4, and that is not
So
happening.
there's potentially still an eminent domain conversation.
There's a couple little things on Celebration, but they're little, nothing major. And there's also gonna be a bunch of stuff where we have easements or we have CDD owns property. CDD has a lien over it, even if we don't own it, which we're gonna just have to waive because we obviously don't assess property that's not being used. So we will have stuff that we have to do, but so far we've got no updates on what it is and if there's any value to it.
So Dave can still give us $10 million. He was kind of good.
Yeah, no, he's not building any monuments or his own statue.
From Taj Mahal this time.
CDD helicopter. Come on, people, you know that's what we're
Speaking
making.
of $10 million, what's the enterprise dollar update?
I know. I was trying to.
I was waiting.
Yeah, it was me.
We use
$10 million up, so.
Things were about Brenda, I thought.
Are we from St. Chad's? Hold on. So are we done with the engineering report? Okay. Let's move on. Now we move on to liaisons, all the questions.
No, we got stuff before that. Good.
No, we don't.
Business matters.
What? No, we're in E.
Yeah.
Liaisons.
Yeah, you're on liaison.
Yeah, should be shown
I'm
different.
looking at the agenda.
No, what's your report?
Jack took over on the audit committee.
Oh, good, yes.
Very efficient. with
You know you're on that?
Look at financial stuff.
And then you just had the stuff from Crow. was the only event, though.
Yes.
Oh, well, speaking of Grow, I still no response to our request for a,
Nope.
The last I heard was that they, and I'm trying to remember who told me this. Because they are now considering, oh, this was MPAC, because they are now
Yeah.
hip deep into going to 851. MPAG is not going to recommend any engagement or conversation until they figure out 851, which tells me, to Tom's prediction,
It's done.
we're done. Yeah. Which, now that I can say it for the record, for the community, that was shitty. That crow had just stonewalled us like that. I will say on the record, that was shitty.
To follow up to that, can I now tell Dick's Height we are done?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
I,
High five, Jen.
No more. Like,
I mean, we don't have any like,
Where are you gonna?
anything but,
We don't have money, we don't have land, we don't have
We
plans.
have
so-
nothing.
Where are you?
yeah, but we still don't have anything from Crow either. Come on.
You're not gonna get it.
So silly.
What, in the comment, in fairness, the comment I got was from MPAG and it was not an official, hey, this is but that was what the opinion of MPAG was.
Makes sense being that they
And-
have not responded to us.
Well, and the board has made it clear they were not going to take an action on a meeting until MPAG made a recommendation to them to take an action.
But Angel, can you not request a formal response?
We have.
Formal.
Yeah, we've asked for a meeting and they don't.
I've asked several times, but I can ask for a formal response. Sure.
Just for something on record.
And they're trying hard to be very nice. Communications I got back from them on the joint were very, very nice, looking forward to cordial and cooperative relationships in the future.
Because they're not asking us for money anymore and to take over things that we're not going to handle.
So I sent Lauren an email on 4/9. Lauren, can you give me some context behind the meeting invite? The board is requesting a joint meeting with Crowley. Not sure how impact came into this. And no response. And that was on 4/9 at 3:32. The chair was on that email as well. So I've gotten nothing. So what I'll do is follow up to this email and go, can I please get a formal response if they're not,
The
if your
board's
board
re-
is not
the-
interested?
The board is requesting a formal response.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
way or another, to close this loop, just, you know.
Exactly.
Okay.
See the steam coming out of Dave's ears.
But Mickey Mouse operations.
Okay. Any other liaison reports?
We don't leave you. We're there now. Can I talk about
The one?
liaison reports?
Yeah.
Let's talk about traffic. Did you get anything at all from Osceola County or Kissimmee about a single deputy? You had in there.
Oh, yeah, no. Are you talking about like a dedicated person here? No. They have not gotten any traction on that. It kind of stopped with the implosion, but now I'll reach out to this new gentleman and see if he's
Well,
interested.
last month, I think we're waiting also for Kissimmee to give a reply back.
Kissimmee, they're not gonna do on site. They'll do details.
So the
but they-
details would be $62 an hour.
That's right. But they
versus-
will not do a dedicated individual person here.
My
And then the
suggestion.
other one was Orange. Was it Orange?
Lauren said no.
Orange, they will because it's their station. FHP will do it, but they won't do on-site people, but they will do details if that's what you want. Yeah, and they're more expensive.
So how much was it FHP, you know?
FHP,
Like $8.90,
yeah, it's like $90.
like $30 more.
Yeah. It's significantly more.
Yeah, they go faster.
So they had-
No, I had to wait for them. It took forever.
Jack, my suggestion would be if we are looking to seriously pursue getting a committed full-time deputy, let's get the sheriff himself in here to have that conversation just as a, hey, here's who we are and this is one of our top three. That way it's not, we've clearly stalled at staff a little bit and I think their staff is in a little bit of turmoil right now. It'd be nice to have him just to have that as a friendly conversation.
Well, he's an interim captain right now, so I'm not sure what you're gonna get out of him.
I don't think you're gonna be a special election anytime soon.
He's Florida Highway Patrol. He's not gonna switch over to Kissimmee to Osceola County.
Yeah, he's FHP.
I know,
Yeah.
but he's,
But he's the appointee. to be running.
he's there for a while is my point.
He's now the sheriff.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think he's leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, that's my point.
So what's our next move? I'm confused.
Invite him to.
Inviting him to.
Right, we already talked about this.
Yeah, But,
Back to him.
Dave was making us.
and tell him what, that
we want. My suggestion was to bring him here. Number one is he is trying to do outreach into the community now as the new guy,
Oh,
new
yes.
sheriff in town, literally. I would take him and say, hey, you would like to come to our community? We'd love to have you at a board meeting and we can talk about our top 3 things. And here's us and there's you. And one of the things we would like to have is a conversation. And we've already started it, but we would like to get a community committed deputy back here, or at least some pricing for it, and see what his temperature is. Because
Yeah.
it may have totally shifted now with the new sheriff in town. That their focus may have completely gone away from that. So I think if we're serious about it, I would like to look him in the eye. and tell us it's important to
It
us.
wouldn't hurt to ask that.
I don't mind asking that. I'm not convinced that that's the right answer. I'd like to get some more information on it, but
As far as the committed guy.
yes.
I am convinced I would like to have the conversation and have the pricing so I can compare it to where we're at now with the details.
And see what they can offer too.
Yes.
I mean,
We all agree.
I think we need to also talk to Kissimmee too. The difference in prices that you had in the meeting minutes was $62 an hour for Kissimmee, $84 an hour for Osceola County, $75 for Florida Highway
Well,
Patrol.
if we stay on the hourly rate, yes, but what
I
I think,
understand,
Yeah.
but I'd like to talk to Kissimmee so they understand what our desires are too. I mean, if we're gonna interview them and possibly have a contract.
and that's what I said, I would like to, before we make a commitment on whatever we're gonna do, is I would like to bring them in like we do all other vendors and have a down select interview process.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're still getting details, right, Jay?
We're still doing the details, and I gotta tell you that, I looked at the detail reports this last month, and 3 of the nighttime details are not covered. At least I didn't have reports for it, so I'm not sure how effectively we are doing the downtown, and they're still showing 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning, which is an absolute waste of time as far as I'm concerned.
And we already talked about
Yeah.
that.
I thought we adjusted the times, did we not?
Yeah, but I don't think that schedule's kicked in yet. They needed
Well, it may not get in.
5,
A
6
month.
weeks notice.
Yeah, it's a month, a little over a
Maybe
month
more.
in advance.
They need 6 weeks for a detail.
On a
update?
detail they're not doing?
Yes.
When did we ever list it as 9 to 1? It was never 9. I'm even trying to figure out how it got there.
No, it was never 9 to 1.
That's what time the details are, that's what time the reports are.
I think what's happening, or at least on some, I don't know about those specific ones, but sometimes whatever the shift is, they will say, hey, we've got this, can we adjust the shift to this?
No,
And well, I think that's what's happening. We're not getting contacted to say yes
Yeah,
or
really
no.
more pain now.
Right. I think that
So that matters.
internally on their end, getting a yes or a no.
from
And well,
who are they asking?
they're probably, I'm assuming
Their
their scheduler.
Well, I
They're like, yeah, without checking with us.
Yeah, but I've got a particular problem though, when you're not filling shifts when we, Croa and
Yeah.
Lexon are paying for, 2 deputies, 2 shifts each weekend, and we're not getting them.
Could we, oh, no one's here. I'm trying to think of a way for us to better monitor, because no one's staff's not here. So what does that mean? Could they call someone and go, hey, I'm here? I don't know what that looks like, but
They're
there's no,
self-reporting at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, so take them for their word, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. What's
Yeah.
going on here in town?
Law enforcement, they gotta be on the honor system here.
Yeah,
good.
I think you just have to
Right.
tell them that these are the hours. If they can't fill those hours,
Yeah.
they don't need them.
I'd rather
well,
have
I thought it was
than
from
not.
5, that's essentially what we talked
Or-
about,
or
5
it's
to 9
like-
or 6 to 10.
Or if it's 9 to 1, just cancel it. It doesn't do us any
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
It's not us. We're also talking about the downtown businesses.
I understand
Saturday
it, but
and
it's
Sunday.
not doing them any.
No, Friday,
Friday, Saturday,
It's not helping them if they're not.
You're right.
So why even bother paying for them and just cancel it and say, unless you can shift and get it right away. I don't see the point. I mean, I think they're wasting our money.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I've got some basic questions, like now there's seasonality to this. We don't need them patrolling the school when school's not in session, if that was one of their,
They're not patrolling the school.
well, I
You have
thought-
school resource officers doing that.
Yeah.
but I mean, this goes back to our whole complaint, we're like, well, we need some enforcement around the schools for when the bikes are doing stupid stuff and when the people are running stop signs and all those.
I agree with you completely. If we pull some deputies and say, we want these times, these places.
But
And
you
I
can't.
We,
That's the,
we will.
that's
That's
what
why
we're
we need
working
to
on.
meet with the sheriff.
Correct.
All right.
This can't be this damn difficult.
But I gotta tell you, I do
It's
have,
not, I think the reason you didn't see these issues before was because Cliff was literally going there, sitting with people, going through this stuff, or he would meet with them here. He was the only point of contact with the sheriff. So I think that's why, right now, you don't have that. One person solely dedicated. He went down and literally went shift by shift with people.
Yeah,
I just, but I understand that, but what I can't understand is you hire professionals, you agree on the schedules. I mean, that's why I can't understand, do you actually have to babysit everybody and what they're doing? That just seems. Huh? I do, and I don't have to do this, and you get paid very well.
I wanna know where you were.
Lucky, yes, yeah.
there are some deputies that do a great job.
Yes, they do.
And there are
Phenomenal.
some deputies that, I mean, they might as well just stay outside for all they do.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would say my motion, if we need to put it there, is until further notice, we terminate the downtown ones until Angel can figure out how to get the time.
That's what I'm saying, I don't wanna pay for
Well,
anything.
let's hold off, because if they did adjust the time and the next month does have the right time.
Catch up thing too.
Let's let it run.
Check tomorrow.
We'll wait and see. But I gotta tell you, I do have one deputy report. I don't know if you read Beth Butler's report for
He's good.
June 5th, I guess it was. And it was good because he said, I responded to a call for service, which advised there was an electric bicycle doing wheelies on the street. Located a group as they were getting ready to turn onto Celebration Boulevard. Observed two members of the group riding the center of the road with their feet off the foot pegs and their hands off the handlebars. I stopped the males and issued two of them written warnings for not riding to the closest side of the street. And then they made contact with the juvenile's parents. So finally,
Wow.
deputies
He's doing
did
something,
something.
yeah.
That's our permanent deputy that we can
And
put on.
he's actually really good. His reports are usually always really good.
So seriously, can we get his name?
Oh, I got it.
To put it to the leadership, put it to Calvis, whoever else, and say,
Hey, good job.
this is the guy we want. This is the good news.
I look at all these reports that summarize them, who's written the citations, the written warnings, the oral warnings, and the number of shifts, and I can tell you which ones are losers.
Yeah.
Or not as good. Losers.
Did we not have an incident last week where a young boy and he was medevaced?
Yep.
On a scooter?
Yeah.
Electric scooter?
Yep.
Oh,
He,
wow.
what happened? He hit him.
Two of them were on a scooter and somebody turned into them.
Yep.
Oh,
No,
And they were
no lights.
and no lights and black, and that night I saw somebody else. 10 PM.
Yeah, they're in the dark. You can't see
That-
them.
yeah.
My kid knows the kid. I mean, the kid's got his jaw wired shut for months because.
It wasn't the
didn't make
people's
the
fault that
backboard,
turned
too.
into him, right?
I'm not gonna judge. but-
Most schools kept it quiet.
I did hear.
And it's not their fault?
Supposedly. I don't know. I
I
wasn't.
would think not, if they don't have lights on.
No, exactly.
Right in the dark.
Driving a black bike with a black t-shirt.
Especially if it's raining, they come in front of you.
The helmets usually are black too, so you will not see these guys, because I see them, on like on Celebration Avenue. And I see them going by and they just blend in. There's no lights on
And
it.
to the point, guys, and we've said it before, there's nothing, we can't
can't
enforce that. I mean, that's not us, but we do the best we can to advise and try to resource it, but
Okay.
I'm surprised how quiet it was maintained.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right,
All right,
anything else? No, good, business matters. Engage.
I will answer, I'll answer Shell's question, these
Okay.
are what you see in the agenda. Our engagement letters with LLS Tax Solutions for Arbitrage, there's 3 different ones. If you look, one is for Series 2025 bond, which we just did. Series 2021 and Series 2013A.
Didn't get that. Could you try again?
Can you try again?
Jack, keep it down.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Lord have mercy.
that's a new Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Big Brenda.
Hey, Brenda.
Does everyone know what arbitrage is and all of that?
I know what arbitrage is. I wasn't
Okay.
sure exactly in this.
We're required
Context.
under the bond issues to report, to do reports to make sure we are not earning more interest
Than
on
what?
on our bond money than we are actually being charged interest rates.
Right.
It's because if we do make money in that respect, we have to actually pay it back to the IRS.
Right.
It's the whole point of tax exempt bonds is you're not gonna invest the bonds and make money.
Right.
Yep. So typically you have to do, they do an arbitrage for each bond that you have. Every year or every 3 to 5. It depends on what the indenture says. So that's what those are. So as long as you're okay, we'll do a motion to approve all three. You can do all three together.
Move to approve all three.
Okay.
Second. All in favor? You were on some of that $7,000.
Yeah. So the other part, if I can just say my
Please, go ahead.
piece before you move on to your flooring and then adjournment. No, just kidding.
No, we got some more stuff.
No, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is yes. So the enterprise board met on Wednesday, the 4th, 3rd or 4th, whatever that first
11th.
Wednesday is. What?
11.
That's
The
what we
11th.
need. Oh, it got
Got
moved.
moved.
You're right.
Yeah.
So we met and it actually went before the board to see, because as you know, I was only talking to the chairman. The board is absolutely amenable to funding, celebration. They will hold the funds and only release them as we go before the board and say, hey, we've got $1 million pond project this year we want to do. And they'll say, okay, great. And then when the project is done, they'll release the funds, or if it's a payment schedule, they'll release those funds. We are working through, so there was $9.8 million in the construction accounts. So what we're looking at is currently under the bond information, it's very vague. So there is one account that holds like $5 million in it that they may have to retain because of any future projects that come up, because the way the bond language is that it's called an account, acquisition account, right?
Yeah, not acquisition or construction, the way.
Construction account. So they may have to keep those, which has roughly, 5 million. I don't have the exact number in front of me. Now, the rest of the funds that are in different accounts, that is up to be able to
Totals what?
help fund.
Total.
Yeah, it's 9.8 total.
Total.
Yes, and the acquisition account, I believe, has, five or six without looking. So essentially it's $3 to $4 million that they could help this district with. So that's what we're looking at.
Now, going to them for the budget year, if we wanted to hit this out, I mean, do we go with an ask for 3? Because what's that process of?
Yeah,
This is
I don't think there's a process yet, but
Yeah.
What I have heard from the council is it would have to be sort of segregated infrastructure projects, so it could be something that was under the bond issues issued when they were still constructing the original celebration and the infrastructure.
Yep.
So it seems like we have to come with here's proposals to do.
Yeah.
Nothing too hardcore, but it's pretty much there's $1 million for pond slopes.
Yeah, whatever that looks like, this board could go, this year we want to do $2 million in sidewalks. Here's what we're doing. Y'all have approved it. We go to enterprise and say, we're doing $2 million in sidewalks this year. And they say, okay. And then they pay. Or the pond slopes, as you talked about, whatever that looks like. You just go to them. And again, I don't think it's really a timeline based. It doesn't have to be with budget cycle or anything like that. Typically you would want to keep it in budget cycle just to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Is go October 1, go,
Yeah.
here you go. This is what we're looking to accomplish this fiscal year. And if it's multiple, $1 million for sidewalks, $1 million for pond slopes, this is what we want to accomplish this year. And they say, okay. And then they write the check for the 2 million.
Now, what if?
But we haven't
Is
heard-
there a risk of it sitting and being used because there's a natural disaster and all of a sudden that gets used up? Or is it earmarked just for us?
They're constrained as well.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any,
I just-
Yeah.
I just
any
don't-
contingencies, any
Mm-mm.
discussion on how it
The-
would be apportioned. It's more,
Yeah.
the general concept is they think they're okay with it, other than putting these other funds back, but they.
Holding the acquisition account.
It's half of what you would have thought.
Right.
Which is.
Yeah.
Changes our
No,
calculus.
it's more than half.
It's more than half of what we thought they were gonna give,
They were-
but we weren't sure of that acquisition account, whether they would need to hold on to it or not, but it appears right now today, kind of, that they may have
We
to
can-
hold on to that.
Yeah, we're still.
And we're still
We're still
working
working
through
on it,
that
yeah.
portion of it, but the good news is, yes, they are on board with funding projects, that the board wants to do. And again, it will, like Jan said, to keep in line with sidewalks, ponds, light poles.
Stuff from the
Stuff.
the original engineering
Right.
report, right, that they give us.
So we've already identified 5X, $3 million of stuff.
Yeah.
So what will it, I mean, in my mind, and I think to what Shell's getting at, I'd be fine blowing through all 3 million of that dollars next fiscal year and getting, we're so far
Well,
behind.
we don't know anything on whether they're gonna restrict it to a certain
timeline.
year, whether they're
Yeah.
gonna say spend it all the first
Okay,
year.
we get more color on that, obviously. before-
When does this become an executable thing?
I think once their council gets comfortable with
Yeah,
town council.
that's all
the
we're
acquisition
waiting on.
agreement, Yeah.
Is Sarah Sandy to get the thing, and then Jan already said, I think on the meeting that she'll draft the, we'll draft the agreement.
We'll take first crack. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, but the big part is the board agreed to it, and these are funds. It's not negotiable. It's not a negotiable thing between the boards. It's, hey, we've got this fund. We don't mind supporting the residents of Celebration and helping get some of these high dollar ticket amounts accomplished. And they're all about it. So that's the good thing. But yeah, there's been no, can you go and knock out? I mean, if I would assume if we have people that can actually do the work and you're saying $3 million this year, we're gonna knock out ponds, sidewalks, 15 light,
I have
whatever that
desire to
looks
sit
like.
on this over the next 5
Yeah.
years. and-
No,
Whatever that looks
Spend this and
I-
get this done.
I don't foresee them saying, oh, no, but again, we can work through that, but I don't foresee any
Yeah, I don't
contingency
know
like
how it
that.
works On that.
Yeah. I think if it's legit viable work and we have the means to do it,
But it would be nice if we can figure out a way to keep replenishing that fund. That's the part I want to make sure.
Yeah.
They're clear on.
Keep replenishing.
Well, if the money was there because of excess payments or,
Still have that.
and yeah,
if it's not
for
needed.
utilities, then how did that get into there and how
Right.
can we keep that going? That some of that needs to come back to.
So we stay quiet for a while and then we look at it, really, because we don't want to.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
kill the.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what we're wanting to
Yeah.
round out is,
Yeah, we don't want to
One
say
and
we're gonna
done.
take it all now and
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
at the end of the conversation, if we can make it a continuing.
yeah. Because if those extra funds in the acquisition account aren't used,
Exactly.
we can, okay, this year, so that's what we want to do. So I want to make sure we,
Send them a bag of Kit Kats. Oh, thank you.
And unopened.
yeah,
Not now.
that's the good news. They're all about it. They're fine with it. The whole board voted. It was a unanimous vote and they're good with it.
Any other questions? Unless we can-
Awesome job.
Yes,
That's cool.
proposals for flooring. There they are.
I don't know.
Well, which one of the four is I see one was lower than the rest. Is
Yeah,
that
they
what we're
were-
looking at?
So after the last meeting where you wanted sample and specs, I went back and contacted everybody. Lowest one is, yeah, Florida, so, well, they're new product. That's just a labor cost.
Oh.
That a painter's
Right,
touch is
right.
just a labor
Right.
cost. So, Florida Solutions was a couple of $100 less. They did not respond to me until today. After 3 or 4 weeks of pinging them, trying to get samples. These are from Carpet One, which is local. He actually came the very next day, we took samples out of a book. We had these in a couple of days. He's been out a couple of times. He called me today. Did we need anything from him? So.
How thick are these?
It looks super thin.
Well, it's LVT, right? So
Yeah.
There's only one option.
No, there's two. I think it's 10 and 20. I think it's 20.
What is that, velvet? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Brian.
There you go.
Here, someone has.
What, you gonna leave me with this?
Color. or-
Yeah, not the light one.
The gray one.
I like the dark one. I like the dark one.
I like the gray one.
I like the gray one, sorry.
I don't like the light one.
If I voted.
Right, I think you're breaking the tie here. We got 2 darks and 2.
Well, I voted in a color, I know it's wrong. My wife has to dress me.
I
Are you
think
colorblind?
so.
Oh, I think it's just the guy.
The light one? So the darker brown one, we got brown cabinets, doors, whatever, it'll make your room very dark.
It kind of clashes.
No, so it doesn't actually, the light color actually clashes with the darker woods. Sorry, but
Yes,
I agree with that, the gray, I mean,
I kind of like the gray.
I like the gray. I have two, anybody else there?
We
got 3 grays.
There you go. Great. Well, the question is, this is all carpet one, right?
Yes.
We have no other choices.
Well, you do, but
Well, we don't have a cost for the first one you mentioned, the painter's touch.
well, no,
Yeah, but their labor was.
The labor
exceeded
out of.
Exceeding 80% of the budget.
So,
Costs from everyone.
so we're going carpet one basically, right?
They would be the second lowest bidder, actually.
By like $200.
Yeah, it's a couple, it was.
Yeah, but they seem to be more responsive.
Responsive, the local.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just about price.
All right, I vote for gray with carpet one.
A third.
Okay,
Done.
so, okay.
You guys gonna vote? Yeah, you're going.
Oh, I won't vote nay. I think it'd be the dark. one.
Gray
See when
with-
you put it down, because for
gray
me,
with
it just
carpet
looks dirty.
one.
It maps the carpet we have.
Gray isn't in right now. Gray's
Yeah.
going out.
That's just me.
Second by
What did
Joe.
it say? Gray's not in now?
Gray is going out of style now.
Listen, if those three pickets got me wrong, is that your?
I'm there, self-declared that.
Yeah,
I
great.
can tell.
Carpet one, Shell made the or Jack made the motion, Shell seconded, all in favor?
Well, staff, you guys gotta live with this. You gotta stare at this. all
Yeah,
day.
what do you guys want?
Why are you letting us pick?
Yeah.
You know, that's you got a man who can't dress himself. He obviously can't dress himself. I mean,
Why to delay this another meeting to bring in samples? If y'all work it out.
That they recommend.
I'm on.
Well, we
That's
choose a
one.
because
Now
now
you need the color.
you choose a color, you're the one that's deliver the color.
Ross, what do you think?
It's doesn't work inside.
Doesn't that kind of match what we
I
already
personally
have?
like
Brown?
gray, but that's just my
You like the
thing.
gray?
I like
Gray?
gray.
How does the brown look against the?
All right, guys.
So that's what we did, is we put it in different rooms.
Okay.
And
All right,
this-
so
The gray light.
we voted, you got to recast the vote if you're gonna change this.
So this motion failed, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, why don't you?
I thought we were in the discussion phase.
Oh, are we?
We
Okay.
are?
I just.
We made a motion discussion.
He made a motion, we're in
Jack
discussion.
made a motion, Shell seconded, you're in discussion phase before you call
I
the
thought I
vote.
voted in favor.
You said third, so do we get it all? Some standouts.
Tom,
I-
is the discussion
Well,
phase?
I'll vote no, because I don't think the gray's a good color, but it passes anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Put it up against the foreground and see.
Yeah, let's see it against the brown.
I think this is a lot of work.
This is a lot of work for them.
Gray's gonna.
Damn it.
Look at
To
that.
go down.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's people up here who's gonna fan a white thing.
Milk,
Well, I know how this happens.
What do you think, Shel?
the gray.
He's
I had
right.
to look at this carpet for years. I would have never picked this carpet either, so.
Well, this is not the carpet, this is.
This is not
Well,
pieces. This is not carpet anymore. It's turned into something else.
It's a science experiment.
Yeah.
So,
No,
okay.
but a bigger-
So, close the gray it is.
I know.
Yeah, great.
No kitchen.
So we already voted though, so.
Gray goes over the floor and the railing, the
They-
brown might go better with the doors and the cabinets, but.
See, that's-
There you go.
Gray.
You got it, Carrie.
And then-
Done.
You gotta put 10,000 in the budget to restain the cabinets now.
Well, we're gonna get all the furniture to match. Yeah, it's next month.
And you gotta change there. because-
Tables.
Yeah, we definitely transition.
This is green chairs and anything.
You're just angry you didn't get on red. Because you're tired.
Use mine, eh?
All right.
We go with it?
Gray.
Permitting.
Oh, the gray look, okay.
Okay, I can send you the article and read it out.
Gray, no, it is.
Well,
And
we've
that's
been
on
out for a long time.
That's on with us then. If it's out of style, then that's what we're
What
going.
does it mean it's on with you?
That's what
We're
we do.
never here. Oh, no man.
You're on. All right, what's next?
Pressure washing.
Well, you gotta call the vote on that one.
Oh, I thought we all voted. All in favor? All opposed? Aye.
Okay,
Good.
so 4-1.
You'll say aye if you.
Tom.
Aye, nay, whatever. I just voted all against me. So fine.
Okay,
When it's done, and we don't like it, Tom's gonna say, I didn't vote.
I told you so. Pressure washing celebration high school siding.
okay. So let me preface this one.
Yes.
So I don't know what month it was. Try not to quote me. Brenda can probably whip it out in the 2 seconds. This board voted unanimously, back whenever, to have staff pressure wash all 3 schools when school was out. We run into a couple of little kinks here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sidewalks, but the difference is well, there's a couple differences. Around the K-8 and the K-5, right? Those sidewalks we own. Is that right? CDD sidewalks?
Yeah, it's most of the city.
There may be a few that aren't. With the high school, it's a different scenario because what they're wanting pressure washed is not our property. It would be private property. However, they're a governmental entity, so we can still do that. And that's where we need to bring it back.
Without,
Go ahead.
without
Yeah.
liability is what you're saying.
There a couple questions. It's, is it what we want our residents to pay for doing it on somebody else's property? Around the other schools, it's mostly ours, so if we're
Yeah.
just continuing, it's sort of justifiable from a cost perspective. Do we want to be doing it on property that's not CDD property in which we have no obligation to maintain?
Just because of precedence.
Well, we only did that one time.
All right.
And
Well,
then-
clarification though, the topic here says pressure washing the high school sidewalk. What about the other two
It
sidewalks?
should be school size.
There's all three schools.
Yeah, it should be
Oh,
all
so-
three.
okay.
Now, the other component of that is you're gonna have to recuse yourself because of he's running for the board.
Yeah.
So other than that, the board, if you guys want to do it, that's fine.
And you have to file a Form
A Form A, which I'll send to you. Actually, Brenda, can you send Greg a Form A?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a Form
Use your
A,
real names.
yes.
Yeah,
You
Yep,
have to
I sure
file-
can. 8B, I
Thank
think.
you.
Yep.
yeah. And, but then you all can decide if this is what you want to do.
Can I just like leave the room for 5 minutes?
You still have
You
to
can
find-
if you want, but you just have to sign a form.
You just can't participate in the other.
You read that when you did the ethics training, right?
It's still got 7 days left,
That's
sir.
right. Right.
Be done by December 31st, so.
Well,
Is it
but
July
not-
1st?
Not for me.
No, you fill it out on July 1st. It's finished. for.
Oh, yeah.
You all finished it.
Whatever form you sent over, I'm.
I didn't. I didn't because I
We're
knew.
we're all absolutely legal. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, so the point of this conversation is if the board wants to do it, knowing those different components, the high school is a little different because it's private property. But the other two schools, the majority of what is around the school, the district or the district owns as far as side.
Can anybody remind me why I voted to pressure wash somebody else's?
So,
I don't know.
so when we, okay, just one other question. How much property is this you're talking about at the high school?
For the high school,
How many days, Russ? 3 or 4
It
days?
took quite a few days, plus we
Days?
had some
Yeah.
parts that broke
That was
down.
like 1 day shot.
no, it was
Wow.
use of the,
It's a big area.
the big
And that was after hours too.
ice cream truck, as y'all call it, the big
Zamboni.
pressure washer. Yeah, there you go. Zamboni thing, that was using that.
Cycle.
Cyclone, there we go.
It's in bonus.
So even though I have to recuse myself, can I comment?
No.
Damn it.
So originally this was done as a, I mean, I thought maybe.
It was
I'm wrong.
gratis. It was just a.
Yeah,
yeah.
we're trying to be play nice with the school district.
Mhm.
That's where.
Yes, we were trying to,
That was
we
correct.
needed
Once
things
you open
from.
that door
Yeah.
for any, what's,
And there's also questions of, does the school district have, required vendors?
Vendors,
Do we have the appropriate
So
qualifications? Blah, blah, blah.
so again, way back when the school district was not power washing the K-8. There was a couple of vendors that said, we'll power wash the whole school. And they said, no. We have our own vendors, our own agreements, whatever. And so, because they went to the school district. So I don't know if the principal was aware of that or not. Sometimes they're not, but it has to go through the school district. Because they would have to prove anybody on the property for liability.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see the value of doing it for non-owned property, period. It's a liability, it's a risk, why would we do it? It's a precedent that you shouldn't set. No good deed. So I would say no.
That's true.
All right.
I
Agreement?
would say no.
Any further
Only
discussion?
property.
So Shell's making a motion,
Only
no
our
pressure,
property.
only our property. Okay, motion to pressure wash.
Wait, time out. What does that mean?
The property that's on the.
The
school
district
that
owns.
The district owns, we would still do with the.
Are you still talking about the little?
No, we're talking the we're talking K-5 and K-8 problems.
Well, I got a question.
Hold on one second. Motion to pressure wash district owned property
Only.
Only.
only. Okay, so that's the motion. Shell made it. Is there a second for discussion?
I'll second it first.
Okay. All right, now y'all can discuss.
All right. Does the CDD also own the sidewalk in front of my house? Yes.
Yes.
I'm asking a question I know the answer to.
Of course you are. You're doing exactly what I do. I'm touching it off.
So are you gonna go and pressure wash the sidewalk in front of my house?
No, we're talking about around the schools.
Oh, I know. but-
No, but he's making a point.
What, I was,
Isn't that Bliss's point?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
you're required by, like,
yeah, your covenants say you have to do your own sidewalk.
Okay. So the same apply to the school signs?
That I don't know.
there's no agreement, but
There is no agreement with them.
Yeah, I don't think they have to. Yeah.
There's no agreement with them and they don't fall under.
The covenants,
they
yeah.
don't maintain their school property to begin with.
Okay, and what about the other, all the non-residential areas?
We do those.
We do those.
If we own them.
If we own the sidewalks,
I'm-
if it's
and
not.
what I'm getting back is-
residential, we do that.
That's what I'm getting at. I just want to be consistent.
Yeah, because I agree.
If
This
we
would
own
be-
them, we have liability for
That's
them.
right.
If somebody.
So
signs-
this would be consistent with all the other non-residential areas.
Yes.
Great, then I'm in full agreement.
Yes. What Shell's motion basically says, anything that we already do,
Right.
if it's district owned,
We do.
we would pressure wash it. If it's not just, it is
Other
district
than-
owned, but the
other than
sidewalks,
homes,
yeah,
yeah.
that you're talking about, that's covered under the covenants of CROA.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay,
By the way, you might want to get to.
I already did it. I got my letter and I cleared it up.
First letter or?
Come to my house.
We'll be down there tomorrow to do your.
All right, now I guess if y'all are done with the discussion, you. can-
Yeah, all in favor to, agree with, just district only.
Sport shows being.
Yeah.
So, folks, aye.
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 So-
Opposed?
I love this with Greg. This is
I know.
like-
It's so much fun.
Yeah, he's a lot of time. I'm gonna run to be the VP of math meetings.
You can-
Hold on, what is this magical formula that shuts Greg up? Yeah, that's the.
Wow. I make a motion, never mind, it's on. All right, so discussion items, decorating discussion.
Yeah, well, the decorating. You want to take that one or you want me to?
You can start.
Oh,
It's your policy.
so the district currently has, it's not a policy. There's no policy in place for holiday decorations. What it has been since 2012, Brenda, jump in and correct me anytime I'm misspeaking. But since 2012, every year, right before the holidays, the district would send out an article about holiday decoration. Don't decorate the trees, don't do the light poles, whatever that looks like, right? That's really been happening since 2012, Brenda?
December 2012, every December edition of the Celebration News.
Okay, so there's no formal policy and we're having a lot of concerns now where people are putting extension cords across the sidewalks. That is a trip hazard. We already have enough trip hazards. You don't want those. We're liable for it. Running electricity here and there and this, that, and the other. So
Digging.
Underneath
Digging
the
underneath
sidewalk.
sidewalks,
As it gets
running
going.
power
Yeah.
underneath. So there's a lot of concern. So Jan did some research. We talked about it and it may be in the best interest to have
Kind
a
of
policy.
formalize what the requirements are going to be.
Right.
I mean, a policy, again, is not enforceable, but at least we get it out there that this
Said it's no,
the, yes,
Just for risk mitigation.
yes.
that's right.
Do you have a draft of
And
the
most of it-
policy or?
No, we just talked about what the current one was to make sure we are, no power cords or trip hazards. I think we need to add in that nothing underground, because again, but most of this is code stuff. You can't block sidewalks
Yeah.
anywhere in the county.
So with
No
that,
hanging
with-
line, no hanging stuff over.
So question on that. So would that protect us from anything that, like if somebody does put a cord in there and somebody trips? is that-
Nothing will protect us completely, but if we have a policy and we put it out there and say you can't do this, you
And they
can't.
did
it
it, and
certainly
it's-
will.
No,
It's
help
certainly
easier
will.
to fight.
Has there been any instance of us getting in trouble because of it since 2012?
No, what has happened is that, aside, we haven't had issues with cords on the thing. What we've had is people covering the streetlights, covering fire hydrants, they're starting to do wacky things. And it's those things, yes,
Yeah.
they cover it with, wow,
That's the-
yeah, because, and the reasoning was, oh, I didn't think it was a problem because we never use it.
Right.
Well,
That's what you told me.
Yeah.
So,
Covering streetlights.
but
that's a
people-
safety-
people are
safety
pushing the envelope a little bit on this. The other thing too is, ironically, is that CROA is actually responsible to enforce these rules, right? But since, lights and all that stuff happen at night, they don't work at night, right? But they have come back trying to get us to inspect, and they inspect. We don't do that unless it's something like, oh my gosh, like there was no, I forgot what street it was, but there was literally no lights because they wrapped it with red and green. There was zero light on that street. And it took about, I think, 3 hours to go ahead and take that down.
Yeah.
Because they had tape all around with that.
Are we voting on something now then for that?
Yeah.
No, it's a discussion item.
So we can, yeah. have it
Yeah,
ready
and then we get
for
everyone's
when we
I
get
don't think you're in any
Into
any
Halloween.
point right now today to even vote on
No.
anything, but I think
We have
we
to see
should
it.
think about it and then make it a discussion,
That would be
a future
Nailing
agenda.
and stapling into trees for lights, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff on our.
Because the question, just to give you guidance that, I would imagine to be consistent with what Brenda's writing in the article, you would just be formalizing it.
Yes.
Well, we are, but
It's
some
just-
stuff needs to be added to it. So what I would recommend, as long as the board's okay, is having staff draw this up into kind of a policy form, add the things that we need to, that we feel. And then have you all review it, revise it, and then finalize it. I think that's the ask.
And
Right,
Tom-
so question for you. I understand no electrical boxes that have wiring going underneath the sidewalks into the easement whatsoever. And no cords across the sidewalk. What about cords above the sidewalk, say 8 feet above it?
Again, that's a liability for the district if something hits it or does something, but again.
So basically you're saying
Where is the cord going to? To the
it was
district?
because I was like the
The
trees and
house,
stuff.
yeah.
We've had that a
I
couple
mean,
of
do we
times.
want our trees to be lit? I mean, I would think.
Well, there's a lot of people that take cords over there and then they drop them down. They'll put
Yes.
a whole series of blow ups out there and all kinds of other lighting stuff in the easement.
Say nothing past the sidewalk.
Yeah, I
period.
mean, I've not seen.
And that keeps
any
it all
other-
on residential
Yeah.
property if you say
Well, that's,
nothing beyond.
that's simplified.
this sidewalk.
That's simplified by saying nothing.
I was gonna say,
Because the other thing
Yeah.
too is, again,
Are you accusing yourself again? Look at this guy.
Take
Take a picture of this.
to get really granular on this thing, because people are putting them over with those strips across them, so they're covering the cord. Well, now that's a trip hazard. Because those little plastic strips you put over the cord,
Well,
I mean,
I feel like.
we have a definition of a trip hazard on our sidewalk, do we not?
yeah, anything over a quarter of an inch.
So if they put something in that's not a quarter of an inch tall,
But that's only technically for ADA
ADA
compliance
compliance.
for sidewalk cracks. That's
Yeah.
not for a cord across the sidewalk.
Well, let me
It's-
ask you-
Just period. I mean, there's,
Anything that goes in our property needs to be permitted.
yeah, I mean, you can't
Okay,
just.
So you can't just put a cord out there
No.
and run electricity.
And it doesn't mean county code.
Well,
This is not going to be
Yeah.
a very well liked thing, I'm telling you, so.
Like we're using, as you're saying, I kill a mosquito here.
But-
That's one guy's opinion.
Did Brenda ever get insurance to pay for?
Oh, did Aegis ever respond to you, Brenda?
No, and I meant to call her back earlier today and just ran out of time. I'm so sorry, but I'll check with her tomorrow.
Okay. So we
I had the
are
list of
asking,
questions. Yeah.
your district insurance, like, what does this mean?
Yeah, well,
Do we have liability? Do we not? What do we do to mitigate?
The only,
What are
the
their
only,
standards?
the only
Yeah.
thing and last year was a good example of where the district strictly enforced it, like heavy handed, is fire hydrants and streetlights, like when they covered them.
Yeah.
The other thing that we technically have to do is if they have illegal, but we can just report in county. If there's power going underneath the sidewalk, you can't do that. No electrician will do that. So everyone has done it themselves.
No one's walking around policing this. But if
No.
you're out in the community and they're seeing it, then it becomes a concern and issue.
Part of this discussion is Kroll was trying last year and asking us to enforce it. And I'm like, we don't have the enforcement.
Yeah, we can't, that's your
They're
job.
supposed to enforce all that stuff.
We don't have
Like
a
the signs.
policy.
Yeah,
and
like
policy.
the real estate signs.
Yeah. And the reality is if you write something down, if somebody's doing their job, they're gonna try to enforce it. So
Yeah.
I don't wanna, I don't wanna get in the business of writing things down that we don't have an intention of trying to enforce.
Yeah, and we will enforce it for sure, but we're not going out on the hunt for it because
No.
we could be out in celebration all day long looking for violations, people putting stuff in easements, behind easements, and we
Yeah,
don't
and-
have the staff to do that.
And
We're
keep
gonna
in
put
mind,
Dylan on.
Yeah,
this policy
bad.
is very much following the same stuff we've always had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Posted, there it is.
Yep. and that's it.
That's all we can do.
Just adding a little bit more things into this,
And,
and
the code issues.
Yeah.
This isn't just the CDD being mean. Some of this stuff is actual county code
Well,
violations.
any code reference in there would be helpful.
I nominate Tom to be the Grinch and dress up.
Well, you ran for the board. You're supposed to enforce the rules. I mean, apparently we have differences here. Did you take a note? Oh, did you complete that training?
You can be the Grinch liaison.
The Grinch league.
We've got a liaison, Josh.
The thing is, people will still put lights on. That's fine. It's just,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
Well, the challenge becomes though, Crow goes out and is trying to do, for the times we say, hey, Crow needs to be enforcing it. What happened last year is they went out and tried to enforce it. And now we need to stand by what we're putting, because
Yeah.
as a separate conversation, we say at just about every meeting, Crow should be enforcing this. I know I'm diverting
Gotta
from
help
90-degree
them
turn.
Yeah.
We need to get a list of everything we feel like Crow should be enforcing.
so that's,
I think we should be writing this down, and I'm happy to work with Angel and go back to their staff and say, hey, guys, traditionally, here are the things you've been, and this is one of them. I don't think they're aware. They've had staff turnover and whatever. I think we've.
I don't think they ever were aware.
Well, but I think we owe it to them to say, hey, guys, it is our understanding you are or should be enforcing these things on our behalf because we can't enforce them. And at least have the conversation with them to see if they'll start doing it or not. So I know I just took a hard turn there, but.
No. I think that's part of it. I mean, that's a 6,000 foot level, but there's a lot of stuff that we can't do anything about. because we
the
don't
other
have
thing
that.
is if we try to do something, if Carrie, like the hydrant thing, he's like, you can't you can't decorate that. Luckily this guy was nice. He took it down, but
Twice.
kind of.
You put it
There was
back.
nothing
He did
to
put it-
point-
Yeah, I did.
There was nothing to point to and go, you see this?
It's called fire
We can't do it, so I think that helps too. And you can't list everything. You can't go granular on this thing, or you'll have 50,000 pages. But I think overall, the heavy liability things, you can list those and move on with it.
I think that's intent.
The fire hydrant had lights wrapped around it.
But Sandy had
He
to.
does that again. You gotta call me. I guess he doesn't give
Any
any pictures.
It's on celebration.
Make any ideas?
I don't have any fun.
Oh, that's okay. I do.
You were the one out.
Doesn't mean.
Any questions on that? I guess we'll just
Okay,
see what you guys put together.
All right.
you want to start? No.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so 10, other business updates and supervisor comments. I'll start with Greg because Greg, Dave's gonna get 3 hours here.
Yeah.
Can we get a formula of him?
Stretch beforehand.
My only other thing I had on the list was we had talked about at the workshop, having a conversation with the bond attorney,
About
bondable items.
it.
Coming out of the workshop was gonna be, we were getting the bond attorney and there's consent from the board.
We had
Meeting.
we had an email from, that I gave you a short memo with our current attorney's opinion. I talked to the prior Greenberg, who was the bond counsel before him. And as he said, he said if they need to see an engineer report with exactly what it was that was being proposed to
We went
decide
over
that
this
to
past meeting,
capitalize.
right?
Yeah,
I think.
we've talked about this before.
I mean, I had to dip out at the last meeting, so.
Yeah, so what came out of that was in order for bond counsel to come and tell you anything definitively, there has to be an engineer's report. They would do a full engineer's report, whether it's on sidewalks, whatever, pond slope, whatever. Then that would be presented to bond counsel and then they would review it and go, yep, that's deemed a bondable. This is not bondable. And kind of go like that, but they can't do anything until they get it's pretty extensive,
Yeah.
engineer's
We
report.
need a full engineer's report with costs, with life lay time so you can see if it's capitalizable, what the costs are, how long it's gonna last, where it's gonna be, what it's gonna.
So even if you go ahead and say, let's say they go ahead and said, yes, pond slopes and sidewalks and boardwalks, yes, you get bonded. However, to really give you the answer, we're gonna need this detail.
Engineers
And
report.
then we can go ahead and tell you. So yes, but no.
Yes,
Right.
that's. Yes.
They're at least gonna give us the, hey, it's not a hard no. They'll give you the first.
It's not even a hard yes either, because then it's.
No, absolutely, until you get the
They're
report.
gonna tell you there's no definitive anything, because that's the answer when I called based on y'all's request to have someone, he's like,
Yeah,
we're not gonna give them anything definitive until we have an engineer's report. I was like, okay.
yeah, and when I called the second attorney, I mean, they were the same way, and they
Yeah.
were, that they said sidewalks is really a questionable one. If you're, tearing them all out and building new sidewalks that are gonna last 30 years. That's
No
no bondable
trees.
project, but if you're going in and shaving them all down and cleaning them, then, that's kind of an operational. But we need to see the scope and exactly what's being proposed.
So that's where it was. And I forgot that you left early at that meeting. So, yes.
It was quiet. That's why you guys get to do it.
We actually did comment on that.
I know you did.
Shell, what do
I
you?
will defer my time to my gentleman to my right.
Oh, good.
Oh, that'd be me.
Settle in.
I still had an extra 4 minutes, so it gives me my. Did you yield?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Get your pen, Karen.
Then I'm gonna.
Clean notebook.
So is there anything actionable with Give Kids the World based on what we looked at?
No.
No.
They're not gonna do it anymore.
Is that because of the fountain?
The wind.
So they came in and said that they couldn't get the current to get the lanterns to come the right way.
Right, but was that because of the fountain or was that just?
No, it hasn't-
Oh, It's just water.
So then they said, oh, can we go ahead and get a boat? And they said, and I guess it came to me to go ahead and say, I said, well, the board voted a particular thing that, so it's a boat at night. And we did ask them,
And having
because
your
somebody asked, will you be able to,
Yeah.
right, how you can retrieve? Oh, we got that figured out. And they didn't. And I'm like, I'd say it would have to go back to the
You
board.
can't just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So,
So-
yep.
It does,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Great, nothing. Moving on. I was asking you previously about if we had surveys of the CDD parcels in Island Village and where the easements are over that.
I thought Mark sent us that.
Yeah, I sent a couple plot sheets that show that. I guess, I think whoever asked me, I sent it back to him, so.
I have it. I'll make sure you have it. Dave.
Yeah,
I thought you were on that email.
I don't see it.
Okay, I'll find it and send it to you.
Okay.
All
Could you
right,
copy me on that too? So I can see it
Yes.
in my
Yeah.
survey file.
And,
that'd be great.
make sure you copy Brenda, so she has it in her.
I was not marked someday when I.
put Dave's name on there twice, just in case.
There we go. All of my emails. Quick admin thing is I will definitely be out of the country for the July meeting.
That's at the budget meeting,
I know.
That's one.
which is fine, but I want to make sure everybody else will be here because I need at least 3 of you or we can't approve a budget.
I
And
may be out of the meeting for the out of the
Okay.
country for the July
We
meeting.
need
Shelley,
to
want to hear? Tom, Jack,
Here.
okay, so we have at least you 3. All right,
Wow.
that's fine. That's petting it. That means none of you can get sick. None of.
No, if you're sick, you just plop yourself in
The
here.
budget.
Yeah.
and then-
Whatever you ask.
Rolling in here.
Yeah. That's right. We'll just like.
It's not allowed to miss his first meeting.
No,
no.
I think you need to adopt.
I also might be out of the country.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last.
Both of you. I got you. I see you.
All right. Yes, right. At the same time? Out of the country? What are the odds? Okay, the other part is, do we still have a workshop in August?
Yes.
Yes.
For signs,
Winter, we plan to be out of the.
signs and to go over the hurricane protocol.
You better be there.
Is that it?
August 11th.
August 11th.
August
Yeah.
11th. Yeah, if you're not there.
No, I am.
Okay,
That's not the point.
okay.
You moved it up to make the point.
Andrew and I are going out of the country then.
Yes, we will be. at the
That
show.
would be a problem, right? Because baked into this, and I don't know if we're gonna put it until that particular workshop, but I saw the correspondence with the whole flashing beacon emails. Everybody knows what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I've got a lot of concerns and
I
questions.
think I sent you that.
I'm afraid if we wait, I just want to make sure, is that something we want to cover in August? Or, you know, is there a risk that I'm gonna turn around tomorrow and there's gonna be flashing beacons already installed?
So I think part of this conversation is, number one, we cannot stop them from installing them. The county, the flashing lights and crosswalks or whatever.
Yeah, we can't stop.
Yeah, we can't stop them, that's the point.
That's a safety issue.
Yes,
I mean,
and nor
if they-
would you want to stop them
Well,
anyway,
hold on.
because
Okay, well,
Time out.
finish your conversation.
Yes, exactly what gives them particularly, or anybody, the right to just unilaterally put stuff on our property.
Well, they have eminent domain power, so if we say no, they can just take it. They'll take it.
But they have to come to us first.
necessarily.
With eminent
We
domain,
have to look and see, did we look and see if there was an easement there? I think we,
I think there was easements where TCC they retain the right for any signage, landscaping.
yeah, I think
That-
TCC has, so they could technically go around us and go to TCC, or they can just do it through eminent domain, just say we're doing it, come find us.
Let me see.
They supposedly have a study that came up with that conclusion that that was a dangerous area.
They did.
And that would be difficult if there was ever an accident or any issue there, if we refused to allow them to put it with some kind of governmental study saying it's dangerous.
Yeah, so that's part two is I'd love to see this study and whatever data they have to back this up. Because it's strange logic to me that you have an area that is patrolled by a crossing guard that during heavy traffic times, that is a safety danger.
So the only location within Celebration that is currently approved for an RRFB sign is at the mid-block crossing on Celebration Avenue at Mulberry Avenue. This guy Bradley is trying to get more
So-
throughout Celebration. And basically, the county, Gary Yeager, is saying additional evaluations will be conducted following the implementation of our safety improvements identified in this study. I have requested the study and I asked Jasmine to request it, and I don't think she's gotten anything back either. But right now, that's the only one that's being, but this guy, Bradley Clark, is pushing for
So-
more,
so my concern in that email,
whatever.
right, well, my concern in that email is,
Mhm.
but not in the email, it was a Facebook post. Where he said, another flashing sign is coming up Marisol, and eventually there'll be another sign in Kindercare, even though they said they wouldn't do that. There was discussion now where he's pushing all this stuff. And I think we need to get ahead of that, because although I understand they have the right to go ahead and do all that stuff.
That's not what they've committed to yet.
Well, yeah, but they could, because he's been with them, I don't know, every day. I don't know.
Yeah,
sending
they,
them
and yeah, no, he emails
Whatever he's sending them, you know, I mean, it just seems.
at least twice a month,
And
every month.
that was something else we talked about talking at that workshop, was the memo that the county thought they approved, that we did not get an approval, and county
Right.
attorney agreed as to for any kind of traffic enforcement studies, parking, that the CCDD would get input. So we can try to.
I mean, I think
Have
if Dave's
enough.
immediate concern, nothing's gonna happen before our August workshop, so
No.
I feel like they're gonna.
No, but to get ahead of this, it's
We should get this
misinformation
done.
out there. I mean, we really could take this email from Gary Yeager.
I'm more concerned about the information we don't know. The conversations he's had with the county and what's been discussed. Because every time that's happened, we've gotten surprises in the community because we just didn't know. So that's my thing.
But this is what I'm saying. I don't know what he's posting, but even in his email that I'm looking at right now, this guy Bradley Clark, is he the one who posted?
Mhm.
Okay, he puts, "Hi Gary, thank you for the update and quick response. Maybe in the future, we could have one in front of Kindercare. Could be a consideration for the rapid flashing beacons. This is a very high traffic. I also appreciate the beacon for Mulberry and Celebration Avenue. Could you provide more details on the other locations in Celebration that may be getting rapid? So for him to go the opposite and say that after his email, there's been no determination that these.
I guess I just want to make sure
Yeah.
there isn't a determination.
As far as I know, I don't know if he's having conversations. I know that we get copied at twice a month at least when he reaches out to the county.
My suggestion,
We're
would
copied
be, at
on
least until we have the August workshop, is if you can email the county staff and maybe drop everybody else and just say, hey, guys, can you please ensure there aren't any other side conversations other than this email thread, or you're coming back with it? Just that way we're seeing what's going on until we decide how we want to end
Because
it.
they do public records. As the county attorney.
Yeah, because-
You haven't gotten, I do a formal public record.
Yeah,
request,
because
he
I'm
hasn't
scared that if I just drop everybody and go to the.
Or you can reply
counties-
all, I don't care, I mean, whatever.
No, but I'm saying for me to ask for sidebar conversations that have been going on, it might be better to do just a formal records request.
I don't think it hurts to ask them for a copy.
I mean, my spidey senses tell me there's nothing going on the side, it's just my
Yeah.
hunch.
I
The,
just
the,
think
the
it's
guy
always
writes a
nice to
litany
say,
in
"I
each
want
one of
all
his
this stuff."
emails.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's 15 people.
And I don't disagree, but I've been disappointed twice before. There was something.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just say I'm highly concerned. And the other part that's concerning is that when I first started, I remember going to the county traffic and directly I visited them and they said, well, our protocol is that we take all resident requests from Celebration, if it's within Celebration, and we forward them to, it was Greg at the time, but he said.
I'm
Greg
still on the
specifically.
thread.
Yeah,
Well, and I think part of, to the point though, I think part of your response should be, hey, please understand, the CDD is neither agreeing with nor disagree. Please don't take our silence as consent, I think is Dave's point.
Well,
because
yeah,
we're
I've
not
already
emails
communicated
before.
that. First I asked, because
Okay.
Dan and I talked, I don't even know why we're on this, other than
Yeah.
it's great information for you all, but we don't even need to be on this. We have zero to do with this stuff.
Well, he's got everybody under the sun on
Exactly,
that email
yeah.
thread.
And so I did reach out and said, you're not like looking for a response from, and he's like, no, he actually put you guys on it.
Yeah.
So. I think,
but I like that we're on it because if something's going in our verge, I think we should have a say in it.
I'd be very careful with what you want to interject yourself in, because if this board, anybody, Jan, myself, staff, or the board goes, we don't want that flashing sign there, and it doesn't go, and a child gets hit, that becomes us because we blocked it. You see what I'm saying? So you want to be very careful how we approach
I
this.
guess my thing is, it's not that I want to block anything. You know, what always happens is that somebody pushes stuff. Okay,
He's pushing it for sure.
stuff comes in. They leave and we live with it. And that's what I'm.
It sounds like it got shut down. I mean, after they said we did a study, there's only the one intersection in Celebration.
But
Yeah.
he's not letting it die.
No, he's definitely not.
All right, so number one, the squeaky wheel theory is the fact that somebody at the county is like, we can shut this guy up, just to prove it. Number one.
Could be, yeah.
So we want to avoid that. But, number two, the reason I want to see the data is, to me, this doesn't make any sense for that location because literally it's busy when school is in session. It's right where the school, Mulberry Gate is,
Yeah.
right? There is the nicest crossing guard in the world that is very aggressive on making sure she is out there with her whistle or stop sign.
What's the speed limit during school hours?
15, yeah.
That's
Right.
fair.
On both sides.
And so why in the world do we need a flashing beacon?
We're not traffic engineers.
But I want to see why.
I hear
That makes no sense to.
So what he's saying is summary of findings, this is Gary with the county, summary of findings and recommendations based on the prioritization matrix, field observations and engineering judgment applied during the multi-location crosswalk safety study. The following conclusions were made for Celebration. Celebration Avenue and Mulberry recommended an RRFB and apply special emphasis on crosswalk markings. Number two, this location met the thresholds indicating heightened pedestrian vulnerability due to part in travel speeds, geometric alignment, and volume of pedestrian activity. And then number two, Celebration Boulevard and Celebration KinderCare, 400 Celebration Boulevard. Apply special emphasis on crosswalk markings while RRFB installation was not warranted based on the criteria used in the study, including MUTCD guidelines and engineering judgment. Visibility enhancements through prominent pavement markings are recommended to improve driver awareness. The next steps involves prioritizing all approved RRFB installation locations as part of the upcoming work program. So that's what they recommended back to this guy, Bradley. So I've asked for this study. I'm gonna ask for it again and make sure Jasmine asked for it again. So both of us are kind of asking together.
It almost sounds like it's on cruise control at this point. It's part of a study, it's part of the greater
Yeah.
program for the county, everything on that's gonna get approved. And so literally tomorrow, we could see one of these.
Yeah, and
Or it could be it's not funded and it's gonna be 6 years
I'm
from now.
gonna say,
Yeah.
I think at minimum, you're not gonna see it till next fiscal year, because they're gonna need to fund the money.
it's definitely funding, and I think they're doing company-wide, but I do agree. I mean, he is a squeaky wheel. I
Yeah.
don't know how far,
So
you know,
that,
it's gonna go.
the county put repainting sidewalks and crosswalks and whatever it is inside the right of way, I don't care. That's fine. That's their stuff.
Yeah.
But if they're putting a big old flashing thing in our verge, I kind of have a problem with that.
Conversation for the 11th of August.
Yeah, and I don't know who from the county we could even invite to a meeting to like have this discussion like in real time.
Yeah, we don't have Dave Tomek.
I would bring the.
I know, Dave Tomac.
No, it's,
the guy.
Well, it's Ray Stang.
Ray Stengel, yeah.
Oh, was it him?
Yeah.
Oh, I always think about that, Reno 911.
Ray Stengel?
Yeah.
But Dave Tomek is still there. He's just as a deputy administrator.
He's back now.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he was city for a while. He
Yeah,
did
yeah.
stuff.
So I don't know who to invite to have
I
it, like.
I would invite Frey, I would invite somebody from the traffic department. And I guess that was gonna be my question, because we had talked about this when we initially scheduled it. Did we want to do this just internally? So we came to a consensus as to what we as the board were gonna ask, or do we want to have the county at that meeting? Because we're gonna be making sausage that first meeting. We're gonna have 5 different opinions. I don't know if we want them sitting on all that, or we want to have the meeting
We could do a
ourselves.
follow-up. I just don't want to waste their time.
And that's why
It makes it,
yeah.
it makes us look bad.
They can come at that, they can come at the meeting. Well, that's the budget meeting. I don't care when they come, but.
I think they should come to the workshop, August
fine.
11th. You can't make any decisions anyway. And you know,
It's just a
at least
discussion.
you can get their point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you'll be able to have a better
Yeah,
conversation built around what they're telling you.
Do we want to update that parking memo that they said was approved that wasn't for that meeting as well?
I would, might as well.
Okay.
I'll reach out to Ray Stengel and see if he can attend the workshop. And even if it's the beginning, to have the conversation and then he leaves and you all can finish your discussion in far, you know, what the
Yeah, because
consensus is.
that applies to a bunch of signs that I'm curious about. Like, I don't think,
No, that would be great, because there really is not much on signage from a standpoint of what you can and can't have.
You know, it's funny.
Traffic wise, they can do pretty much whatever they want.
You know, when you're entering celebration, going under 417,
Yeah.
they're running out of real estate because they've got so many signs out there that I'm like, no, what is this? They got their hurricane sign now, the big square hurricane light up sign now, and they got all this other stuff. Oh, you can't miss it.
Yeah,
I can add that to the list now.
Yeah, that goes under construction the first day of the year, so I'll probably rip all that out.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm done.
Anything done?
Done.
I don't have any. Any public comments?
Dylan? Just gonna move Dylan up.
Motion adjourned?
So, what?
Just one quick thing, the guy from Western Green, they do the pond slopes irrigation installation. I had reached out. Asking if the board is interested in me having them come to a meeting and just give a little presentation on some of the methods they use. You can ask questions.
I think there's, at least we get a full.
Yeah.
Lovely. Let's try to do that one step, figure out,
Hopefully they can come.
maybe September, I just know it's
July, there's, well.
Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah.
Oh, we-
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start with.
Okay.
Get to the water. Who made the motion to adjourn?
I did. Oh, I know, I said, is there a motion?
Dave.
Favor?
Second.
Aye. Discussion?
Second.
Hey, who's second?
Dave.
Discuss it.
Thanks, Jack.
You want to discuss it?
Yeah.
Fair.
We discussed everything else.
7:47. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda.
He has no help.
You're cutting into guidance, Lawrence Flanks.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
And he just got, he just got the bubble mix too.